7798868 or the SAPS Crime Stop line on 08600 10 111. The Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources has urged residents of the Gugulethu informal settlement in Springs east of Johannesburg not to engage in illegal mining activities. This after the alleged discovery of gold particles in a kraal by locals. Scores of residents have been digging since last week hoping to strike gold. Mineral Resources Department spokesperson Lerato Nsolo says illegal mining activity poses danger to residents and is a criminal offence.
The department reiterates that any mining activity conducted without the required permits or mining rights, as prescribed by the Mineral and Petroleum Resources Development Act, is unlawful and constitutes a criminal offence. Illegal mining endangers communities, threatens lives, and harms the environment.
Recapping the top story, a fourth suspect in the killing of 22-year-old e-hailing driver Isaac Satlat is expected to make his first appearance in the Pretoria Magistrates Court today. He handed himself over to police yesterday in Attridgeville, Pretoria. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
A very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Cricket action from last night. The Proteas stumble in Benoni as Pakistan avoid the whitewash in the final T20I. And in soccer, the PSL license fight heats up as Morocco Swallows and Gallants take the battle to court. We'll have the details just before 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Trouble coming in from the south up into Joburg again today. And again, it's the Deepcliff interchange, breaking down vehicle inside the interchange. So N1 North onto the N12 East at Uncle Charlie's. That's where the breakdown is. That traffic really starting to pile up. N1 South through Midrand, coming out of Pretoria, looks okay this morning. Durban, Cliffdale, Key Ridge checks out fine. No major problems. There is a breakdown, though, just after Shongweni. So once you sort of come off Key Ridge and head down to Marion Hill Plaza, just keep your eyes open for that. Bus involved in a crash on Durban's Gena Road. Goble Road. That might take a little minute or two further to clear up. And Cape Town, anecdotally, looks like being a busy Tuesday. There's traffic all over the show already. N2 inbound at Khayelitsha, N1 inbound through Brackenfell, R300 north to the M1, and the Stellenbosch arterial leaving Cowes River queuing up towards Noinsfontein Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
The clock has just struck 7 minutes after 6 on this Tuesday, the 17th of February, 2026. You're listening to SAFM 104 to 107, and we are broadcasting live from SABC HQ here in Auckland Park in Johannesburg. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of The Morning Brief. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. It is your essential daily briefing for making sense of the forces that are shaping your world here at home, across the African continent, and far beyond our borders. From power and land to safety, livelihoods, and accountability, we've got sharp analysis lined up for you. We also have real voices and stories that connect the dots between policy and lived experience. This is the Morning Brief. Here's some of what is coming up over the next 3 hours. When liquidation turns bitter, Tongaat Hulett, farmers, and a fight over who gets paid. The collapse of sugar giant Tongaat Hulett may be final, but for many black and emerging farmers, the aftertaste is anything but sweet. With the company now heading into liquidation that could stretch over a number of years, minimum estimated 3 years or thereabouts, sugarcane growers are already owed millions, face the prospect of waiting even longer, while banks and big creditors appear better insulated from the shock of that imminent liquidation. At the heart of the anger is a familiar question: who really carries the cost when corporate rescues fail, and who ends up at the back of the queue in terms of, you'll know when these processes are playing themselves out, basically all the creditors line up in terms of, and they are ranked in order of priority, that as the liquidators go through the process, who are they going to pay first? So at about 10 to 7 this morning, we'll be joined by Inkosi Zondi, the AmaZulu Royal Chancellor, who says this process risks punishing the very farmers and workers who built the country's sugar industry. He'll explain why he believes that farmers should be prioritized just after SARS, the South African Revenue Service, whatever is owed to them. Just after SARS, Inkosi Zondi believes should be the farmers who have been suppliers to Tongaat Hulett and who are owed already, a lot of money, and why he is prepared to fight to fight this battle to the bitter end. So at about 10 to 7 this morning, my conversation with Inkosi Zondi, the AmaZulu Royal Chancellor. Driving under threat, e-hailing safety and after the murder that shocked the country. A brutal dashcam recorded murder of an e-hailing driver in Pretoria has once again laid bare the dangers that are faced by drivers who earn a living behind the wheel. With a fourth suspect now arrested and the first three abandoning their bail applications, attention turns to what this case says about the country's about safety in the country's fast-growing platform transport sector. Drivers say they're operating in high-risk environments with little protection, slow emergency response, and limited accountability from both platforms, the giant ones, because there are more than two, but, the main ones, from both platforms and authorities. So at about 20 past 7 this morning, we'll be talking to Melithemba Mnguni, Secretary General of the E-Hailing Partners Council, about what drivers are demanding now, from panic button response times to policing hotspots to whether technology alone can keep them safe. So we'll also ask whether this tragedy marks a turning point or just another moment of outrage that is likely to fade after a couple of weeks. So my conversation with Melithemba Mnguni at about 20 past 7 this morning. And lastly, let me flag this story. A gold rush or fool's gold? Digging for hope in Springs. Hundreds of desperate residents, spades in hand, digging at a kraal in Springs in the east of Gauteng, chasing rumors of gold and the promise of a way out of poverty. What started as word-of-mouth excitement has quickly raised alarm bells about illegal mining, environmental danger, and the risk of yet another Zama hotspot taking root. Is there any geological basis for these claims that there's gold in that area, or is this simply a reflection of economic desperation colliding with myth and misinformation? So at 10 past 8 this morning, we'll be in conversation with Warren Beach, who is Chief Executive Officer of Beach Veltman Incorporated and a mining law expert. So we'll try and separate fact from fiction around that situation in Springs. He'll also explain what lies beneath the East Rand, why real gold mining happens far deeper underground, and how quickly an informal rush like this can actually spiral into something far more dangerous. So that's where we're going. Those are the milestones over the next 3 hours. As for the team, ready, able, and on standby to give you all of your updates throughout the 3 hours. And Musa with your half-hourly news updates across the 3 hours. Zaikan will bring you all things sport across the 3 hours as well. Rob Byrne has his eye trained on the country's highways and byways and will make sure that you are first to know if there are any snarl-ups on your route. Melissa Puta will complete the picture for you with the morning brief in brief, and Dauleng Lichela is watching the economy, business and markets for you and will give you an update across the 3 hours. And Sipho Mantula, of course, as always, with a snapshot of news that are moving, news that's moving the needle on the African continent and her diaspora. And this will, of course, include Sipho Mantula's ever popular historical archive. Your calls complete the conversation. They make the conversations that move us. The number to dial for that across the 3 hours is 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. That's what's ahead this morning. The big stories, the human stakes, and the conversations that help you make sense of it all. You're listening to the Morning Brief. Let's get started.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Malok, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloko is in the building.
The Gauteng Provincial Legislature is your provincial parliament, working daily to strengthen democracy and ensure that the voices of Gauteng's people are heard. As the lawmaking and oversight body of the province, the legislature holds government departments accountable, monitors service delivery, and promotes ethical, transparent governance that puts communities first. Through public participation programs, oversight visits, and platforms that bring citizens closer to decision-making, the legislature empowers residents to influence policies that affect their lives. By driving accountability, responsiveness, and openness, the GPL remains committed to building a government that delivers for all. The Gauteng Provincial Legislature. Your view, our vision.
The Proteas women are pumped up to display top-class cricket and emphasize that they are unbreakable. However, the women in green are confident their presence will be felt. This is the one-day international encounter. Witness the first ODI between South Africa and Pakistan on Sunday, 22 February at 9:30 a.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC3 with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the Morning Brief.
16 minutes after 6. Kicking us off on this journey, as always, Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief. Melissa, good morning. Let's start with the developments coming out of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry and what the President announced recently, the measures that were being announced that will be undertaken. We're starting to see that in Ekurhuleni, are we?
Yes, good morning, Thulasizwe. So the city of Ekurhuleni has appointed a private forensic firm to vet about 3,000 officers in the Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Department following corruption allegations raised at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The commission recommended investigations into 5 officers, including suspended Chief Julius Mkhwanazi. The vetting will run alongside a nationwide review by the State Security Agency announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Meanwhile, Ekurhuleni Mayor Nkosindiphile Qhakaza also confirmed the full suspension of the city's legal services head, Advocate Kemi Bahari, and human resources head, Linda Xasheka, along with Mkhwanazi. All 3 have received or will receive charge sheets and will appear before the city's disciplinary committee. This is part of efforts to restore accountability and public trust within the department.
Yeah, that whole Ekurhuleni, especially the EMPD, is a bit of a crime scene, which is really unfortunate because there are a lot of honest and hardworking police officers also within that department. Speaking of vetting in Ekurhuleni, tell me about the lifestyle audits, the much vaunted lifestyle audits that we are always promised. A bit of pushback at the NPA as far as that goes.
Yes, so despite a directive from President Cyril Ramaphosa 6 years ago, no lifestyle audits have been concluded within the National Prosecuting Authority, according to Justice Minister Mamuluko Kubai. Kubai says there has been resistance within the NPA to implementing the audits despite concerns about possible wrongdoings by prosecutors. She has raised the matter with newly appointed NPA head Advocate Andy Mutibi and expects him to prioritize lifestyle audits to restore confidence and ensure accountability within the institution. So that will be interesting to see what the outcome of that may be.
And then let's talk about what's coming out of KwaZulu-Natal. Tensions between traditional taxi operators and e-hailing drivers. That whole issue of safety within the public transportation, e-hailing, platform-based transportation services coming under the spotlight once again.
Yes, so KwaZulu-Natal Transport MEC Siboniso Duma is working to resolve tensions between traditional taxi operators and e-hailing drivers in Durban's Phoenix area following an incident where an e-hailing driver was assaulted and forced to pay 5,000 rand to recover his vehicle. Complaints of harassment are being addressed, and a meeting with key stakeholders, including the KZN E-Hailing Council, taxi associations and the SAPS, is planned to establish coexistence guidelines. E-hailing representatives stress collaboration to prevent conflicts, while some drivers criticize taxi monopolistic practices. So that is a sad one, especially in the wake of all the safety concerns and challenges within the e-hailing space.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you for that, Melissa. Just a reminder, we will be talking to Melithemba Mnguni, Secretary General of the E-Hailing Partners Council, at about 20:07. These conversations always seem to amplify when there's been an incident that has happened, sadly. Remember when there was that incident in the that occurred just outside Maponya Mall a couple of months ago? We were all saying that there needs to be focus on these issues, the ecosystem within the public transportation space, the coexistence between the various modes of taxi transportation or platform-based e-hailing. That was the conversation. But, you know, it seems every time there's an incident, that's when we focus on these issues, as opposed to sustained, solutions-driven focus on these matters.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
All right, on the weather front, here's what you can expect today. The Weather Service has got one impact-based warning that they want you to be aware of. It's a yellow level 1 warning, and it is in place over the Kai. Is it Igarib? Kai Igarib. Ikais, Siatemba, Karierberg, and Ubuntu local municipalities. And that yellow level 1 warning is for severe thunderstorms associated with strong damaging winds, hail, excessive lightning, and heavy downpours, leading to flooding of susceptible roads, settlements, as well as low-lying bridges and areas. I must say, this is the first time I hear of Kai Igarib. So if you're from there, do give me a call. I'd love to hear from you this morning if you are from that area, unless, of course, something went wrong in producing that. But anyway, let's move on. The rest of your weather looks like this. There's an advisory, and it is for hot and humid weather, which will result in extremely uncomfortable conditions in places over the Sarah Baartman District Municipality, Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, Buffalo City Metro, and Amatole District Municipalities. Pretoria, partly cloudy, 12 to 25. Johannesburg, partly cloudy, 11 to 23. Vereeniging, partly cloudy, 12 to 24. Mbombela, partly cloudy at first, otherwise fine, 14 to 24. Polokwane, partly cloudy, 14 to 25. Mahikeng will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 16 to 28. Bloemfontein will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 13 to 30. Kimberley, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 15 to 30. Uppington, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 20 to 31. Cape Town will be cloudy with morning fog, otherwise fine to partly cloudy, 18 to 29. George will be partly cloudy, 21 to 27. Gqeberha will be sunny, becoming cloudy from the afternoon with a minimum of 18 and a maximum of 29. East London, sunny, 17 to 29. Durban will be partly cloudy, 18 to 26. Richards Bay, partly cloudy to cloudy with isolated showers and rain, 16 to 28. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will have morning fog, otherwise it will be fine with a minimum of 14 and a maximum of 27.
SAFM, in collaboration with the Center for Social Justice at Stellenbosch University, invites you to attend the 7th Annual Social Justice Lecture in commemoration of the World Day of Social Justice on the 20th of February 2026. The 2026 Social Justice Lecture will be delivered by the Right Honourable Baroness Valerie Amos, LGCHPC, Master of University College Oxford, and former Director of SOAS, the University of London, under the theme Illusions of Stability, delivering social justice in a period of polarization and global instability. The lecture will take place at the Baxter Theatre in Stellenbosch, Cape Town from 5 p.m. Get your free tickets from Quicket. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
24 minutes after 6, the Israeli government has approved a controversial plan to restart land registration in an area called Area C of the occupied West Bank. And this is for the first time since 1967. The move would allow the state to formally register large areas of land as Israeli state property if Palestinian residents cannot prove ownership. A process that critics say will accelerate settlement expansion and amounts to a de facto annexation. The decision advanced by Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and Justice Minister Yariv Levin applies to Area C, which is about 60% of the West Bank. Palestinian officials, Israeli human rights groups, and international legal experts warn that the measure could lead to widespread dispossession of Palestinians and further undermine prospects of a two-state solution. Let's speak to Thembisa Fagude, who is director at Africa-Asia Dialogues, also a global governance analyst. Good morning to you, Thembisa, and thank you for your time this morning. Settlement expansion has been a bone of contention for the last few years, but this seems to be on a different plane. Something seems to be rather different. Explain to us why this is more significant as settlement expansion is in the ordinary sense. This seems to be a bit out of the ordinary.
Well, first of all, the word first-time registration suggests that these atrocities are happening for the first time. The Israelis have been continually annexing Palestinian land since 1948. So this is not the first time. It's the first time that they're trying to do it legally, but there have been a lot of illegal annexation of Palestinian land. That's the first point. But just to give the context, so after the Oslo Accord, which is it was basically the formation of what was supposed to be a Palestinian state or a plan towards a Palestinian state, there was a decision to separate the West Bank or Palestine, including Gaza at the time, into three sections. One was going to be called Zone A, Zone B, and Zone C. A was a part of Palestine which was going to be controlled by the PA, Palestinian Authority, 100%. Then have Zone B, which is controlled both by Israel and Palestine. And then have Zone C, which was or is supposed to be controlled entirely by Israel. And that consists of 58% of what is known as the Palestinian land. And this is where these registrations are going to be taking place. And the reason why this is controversial is because many Palestinians who own that part of the land lost most of their documents during all the wars that took place in Palestine from 1948, including the Six-Day War in 1967. So if you go to them now and say, produce papers that own the land, it's going to be very difficult for them to do so because they've lost those papers because of the wars. And Israel knows that pretty well, and this is why they take advantage of the situation. And what this will mean is that once they start this registration process, those who cannot prove that they've got the land will be kicked out of the land. And that's where the controversy is. But again, as I said, this is not new. They've been doing this since 1948, and they continue doing this throughout the years.
How does this sit against international law? I've seen quite a fair amount of condemnation, most strident being actually from some activists in Israel itself. I think it's called Peace Now, being that activist group, if I'm not mistaken. And I've seen a statement from the European Union and, of course, a number of the Arab states. But how does it sit against international law?
Well, international is out the window with Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel continues to kill people at will. They continue to annex land at will. So it means nothing. And in fact, what you might just see, it will be a collapse of the international law, and they can do as it is, and this is what they're hoping for. So they continue annexing Palestinian land illegally. It's not the first time that they're doing so. So yes, there's a violation of international law, but what does international law mean in the era of Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, who will go on and commit genocide in Gaza? So yes, we'll make noise, and other human rights organizations, including those in Israel, which is interesting, by the way, will also be making noise. But I don't think it will stop Benjamin Netanyahu and his right-wing alliances inside Israel from continuing doing what they want to do in the West Bank.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Tembisa Fagude, Director of Africa-Asia Dialogues, also a global governance analyst. Before I go to N, I do need to correct myself because it will keep, gnawing at me, this issue. That municipality in the weather is Kai Harib, not Kai Igarib. As captured. I don't mean to shame my colleagues at the weather service. No, there's no harm done at all. I just can't get over it. Okay, so for my own sanity over the next 3 hours, it's Kai Harib, not Kai Igarib. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the DA says the National Assembly Speaker must clarify whether the Secretary to Parliament, Xolile George, made a declaration regarding his alleged romantic relationship with the public protector. A fourth suspect in the killing of 22-year-old e-hailing driver Isaac Satlat is expected to make his first appearance in the Pretoria Magistrates Court today. He handed himself over to police yesterday in Attridgeville, Pretoria. And the United States President Donald Trump has said he believes Iran wants to make a deal over its nuclear program. His comments came on the eve of the second round of indirect negotiations between American and Iranian representatives. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still got that broken down vehicle at the Deep Cliff Interchange. So again, another busy one as you line up from El Dorado Park, coming off the N12 Potch Highway, up through Devlin and through towards Uncle Charlie. Stationary truck in the left lane as you emerge from the Deep Cliff Interchange. And again, just very heavy on the Golden Highway from Eldo's up to Devlin. A lot of people aware of the M1 North, and they snarl up the Golden Highway without traffic lights there as well in the Devlin area. Those lights have been off forever. Coming into Pretoria this morning out of Mamelodi, very heavy. Solomon Mshlangu down from Mamelodi Gardens through Bronkhorstspruit Road down towards the N4. Absolutely jam-packed. Durban, a crash on the N3 going inbound at Spaghetti Junction. Just watch for that. It's by the Ram from the N2. So you might have trouble getting off the N2 highway and turning into that crash at Spaghetti Junction as well. Umgeda Road and Goble still clearing up an earlier bus crash scene. And we alluded to this much earlier with our first crossing this morning on First Take, just saying that Cape Town has a really busy feel about it this morning, and you can see that sort of playing out now. The N1 into Cape Town sits from sort of Okavango Road all the way through to Sable Road at Century City. The N2 is heavy at Khayelitsha, then from the airport, jammed already right through to Mowbray Main, and the M3 is already under pressure from Constantia with the queue up Wynberg Hill towards the Paradise Road junction in that Bishop's Court area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. Let's start with news coming out of Benoni. It wasn't to be for the Proteas women. Pakistan claiming that consolation victory.
Yeah, Thulas, we sealed the series. I think we just gave Pakistan a parting gift on the way. No, we're like, toodaloo, bye. But 2-1 is how we ended the series. But we had a heavy defeat yesterday, 53 runs. South Africa bundled out for just 91, chasing 145 after Pakistan's captain Fatima Sana anchored her side with an unbeaten 47. Meanwhile, at the men's T20 World Cup, Sri Lanka's Patham Nisanka lit up Kandy with the first century of the 2026 tournament, an unbeaten 100 of just 52 balls, guiding Sri Lanka into the Super 8s with an 8-wicket win over Australia. Now, the defending champions Australia are now on the brink of elimination. and they must rely on the net run rate and other results to survive. Moving now to soccer and stadium management. South Africa CEO Bertie Grobbelaar revealed that 31,000 tickets have already been sold for tomorrow's Betway Premiership top-of-the-table clash between Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates. Speaking at the Pirates media briefing at Rand Stadium, Grobbelaar said they expect around 60,000 fans for the game.
Just before we came down to sit, 31,000 tickets sold. So it's not strange for the Pirates fixtures over the last couple of months. There's not a lot sold in the days leading up, but 2 days before the event, and I think the fixtures over the weekend, people focused and concentrated on that. So we expect at least a crowd of 60,000 at least.
Moving elsewhere, we'll have Mansfield Town, which will host Arsenal in the FA Cup fifth round after stunning Burnley 2-1. Manchester City will face Newcastle in an all-Premier League tie. Wrexham welcome Chelsea, and the matches will be played on the weekend of the 7th to the 8th of March. And finally, tennis in Dubai. Amanda Anisimova progressing to the last 16 without hitting a ball after Barbora Krejcikova withdrew, and that was due to injury. She'll now face Janice Shen. Emma Raducanu exited in the first round, while Coco Gauff and Elena Rybakina begin their campaigns today. That's your sport on the morning brief. We'll serve it up top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
All right, let's turn to Ndauling Lechela for the first update of the morning. Good morning to you, Ndauling. South African wines, ever popular, but it would seem we are feeling the squeeze and the pressure coming through from the U.S. tariffs.
That seems to be the case, Thulasizwe Simelane. Local wine is becoming more expensive in the U.S. after those American tariffs took effect. Now, according to the latest global trade update from the UN Conference on Trade and Development, U.S. imports of South African wine are about 17 percentage points more expensive relative to other wine exporting countries than they were in 2024. This, of course, follows Washington's decision to impose tariffs of up to 30% on a range of local exports, including wine, shifting the competitive balance in the world's largest wine market. Now, the report says while trade is unlikely to stop, higher costs make it more likely that U.S. buyers gradually switch to cheaper suppliers, and that pressure is already showing. Packaged wine exports to the U.S. fell more than 20% in volume last year. The industry, of course, has raised these concerns, and that sector contributes over 56 billion rands to the economy and supports more than 270,000 jobs across the value chain.
And then tell me about Trelido. You're saying Trelido is betting on growth in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, they're positioning themselves for growth in Britain, where heightened safety concerns are supporting demand for security products, even as challenging conditions weigh on its local business. Now, in its latest annual report, the company flagged the UK as a key opportunity, citing official crime data for the year to March 2025, which shows 9.4 million incidents in England and Wales, up 7% year on year. Cases surged 31%, shoplifting climbed 20% to a two-decade high, and police recorded more than 166,000 home burglaries, about 456 a day. Now, the company's CEO, Terry Dennison, said persistent crime and greater awareness of security risks are encouraging households and businesses to invest in barriers, gates, and shutters. While UK revenue fell 14.7% due to the completion of a once-off project, underlying sales, excluding project work, rose more than 55%. The company's group revenue, however, declined 8.9%, with operating profit down 28% as weak demand here at home continues to weigh on Tradidor's performance.
It's one of those strange industries, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you want them to do well, but at the same time, when they're doing well,
cost?
you're saying to yourself, it points to something else that's broken further down the system if they're doing well. Anyway, Ndauling, recap how we closed yesterday and how we're starting the day in those markets that have started trading.
So trade volumes were thin, with markets in the US and parts of Asia closed due to public holidays. Back home, trade was mostly in positive territory, but precious metals eased, and that weighed on our local miners. The JSE All Share, however, managed to close in the green, up 0.33%. In currencies, a stronger dollar weighing slightly on the rand. It's back above 16 at 16.01 to the greenback this morning, at 21.78 to the pound and 18.95 to the euro. Oil, in the meantime, trading firmer as attention shifts to those US-Iran talks. Brent trading just above $67 a barrel this hour. And then over in Asia, trade still limited due to Chinese New Year. A few markets open there, focus really on Japan, with the Nikkei taking center stage in the red this hour.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that first update. We'll hear from you once again just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And for that, we turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. Let's start in Madagascar. Tell me about Cyclone Gezani. It has turned out to be utterly devastating, hasn't it?
Absolutely, Tula. Refresh morning and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Tula, this was also part of the AU agenda on climate change. Looking at Cyclone Gezani, Tulas, abanye in Xhosa bathi iyageza manje, Tulas, you know, it is getting out of control until the 18th of this month of February. When I look at the numbers, Tulas, they started at 140 kilometers on the wind bridge, and now it will only end at 85 on the 18th, Tulas. And we see Madagascar, Mozambique severely affected. Despite that, you might say Mozambique lost only 4 people. Madagascar, the numbers have risen to 59. 15 people are still missing. Others are calling it the second largest city of Madagascar, Tomasina, that is affected by Cyclone Gezani, where people have lost their homes. International response, it is underway, Tulas. We see China and France. We see Vatican City, Pope also offering prayers to these storms in Madagascar as well as Mozambique. We are still far from being affected, Tulas. Our weather service have been monitoring closely Cyclone Gezani.
The subject of your next story is someone I've interviewed in the past, and I think I may have told the story of the extraordinary events leading up to her ascendance to power. Joyce Banda in Malawi, the death of the previous president, Bingu Mutharika, and that moment when her party, his party at the time, were prevaricating about whether or not to hand over the presidency to the vice president who had left the party, but they had not, removed her as vice president. And there was that moment when, according to her, they transported the body of the late president to South Africa while they were trying to figure out what to do, under the guise that he's going to South Africa to seek treatment. But the healthcare workers who had attended to him knew that he had passed on. But there was that moment of, what do we do? Do we try and not hand over to her? Anyway, that's my long way of saying that you want to tell me about Joyce Banda.
Yeah, I'm shocked that you have state secrets to us. That
it's an extraordinary story.
You are reminding me of Laurent Kabila Mzee. Also, you are reminding me of many presidents who have died here, by the way. In this country, and we have to deal with the mess after. We're still sitting with the president of Zambia.
Yeah, Edgar Lungu. They apparently brought someone who had already passed on while they were trying to figure out a way to not hand over to Joyce Banda. But the AU... Sorry,
no, I say I do share your notes, but I'll never go further into the context.
Gotcha.
Looking at Joyce Banda being honored by the African Women Leaders Network in Addis Ababa, Tulas, for her long-standing work in rural communities, the fishing villages across Malawi, and they're saying this award also is for the excellence for service in terms of humanity, underscoring the AU theme for 2026 to us, which we have said is around accessibility of water shortages, ongoing conflicts. You recall Mebanda was part of the team that went to Madagascar last year when there was a revolution or the coup that happened in the island of Madagascar. So Mebanda was honored by this woman to us for her role that she has played, and that's where this award was given in Addis.
And then while you're talking about news coming out of the AU summit, tell me about this motion that has come through, this resolution around slavery and colonialism.
Thulas, is linked to the theme of 2025 of the AU, clearly in terms of reparation and access to justice. But Ghana, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Abalkwa Samuel, pushed it to say the AU must not only support it at the AU as a resolution, how they take it further to the UN General Assembly in September 2026. Looking also that next month in March, the 25th of March, is also known as the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and Transatlantic Slave Trade. But they went further on aiding genocide. They added the aspects of apartheid, which links with the Southern Africa. The genocide, the issues that happen in the Middle East, the genocide of Rwanda, Darfur. But here Ghana was just pushing, and member states in the AU agreed to us that in the continent, not in the UN calendar, in the continent, the 30th of November will also be known as the Africa Day of Tribute to African martyrs and victims of transatlantic slave trade, colonization, and apartheid. A very long tribute when you look into it to us, but it's 30th of November that the member states agreed on. And the chair of AU also spoke about the issue of the extermination of the Palestinian people. It was brought back again at the AU summit to us. I think we were trying to round up to us. We can't do AU in a day. There were many issues that came out of the summit since Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps to go through them with each passing day. It gives us that leeway to be able to tell as many stories as possible. Lastly, your historical archive, the 17th of February 1951, and it all has to do with one feisty Antipet.
Antipet, he's 75 and he's still in cabinet. When I met Antipet in Mafeking, I don't want to make a joke, but you are the chain smoker to us, the time of your 30 of Stuyvesant and Coatley, 30 of a pack, huh?
Yeah.
And I used to joke with her, in the PAC conference. Well, let's start with her being his birthday today, but coming from Beaufort West, being a trade union, before you can think of Antipet to join PAC, PAM, set up ID. No. She started as a trade unionist, became the highest woman to be a trade unionist as a national vice president of NACTU, also joining Chemical Workers Union in the late 80s. Mayor Delil will recall again to us. She was voted 22nd in the top grade South Africans when she took the issues on the arms deal, the controversial arms deal. That's where she was a mayor of Cape Town, minister of social development in the Western Cape government, also now in the GNU, still a minister, but she formed ID in those years when she left the PAC. So Antipet is turning 75 to us. Like you said, very feisty, very vocal. And like I said, some of us, we met him in Mahikeng in early years, in the early late 90s to us. And that's how we know those inside and outside of the character of Mayor Patricia de Lille.
All right, Sipho, thank you for that. She's seen it all, hasn't she, in as far as the country's politics, has Patricia de Lille, whose birthday it is today. Thank you for that. That's Sipho Mandula with the Africa Update for you this morning.
The Proteas women are pumped up to display top-class cricket and emphasize that they are unbreakable. However, the women in green are confident their presence will be felt. This is the one-day international encounter. Witness the first ODI between South Africa and Pakistan on Sunday, 22 February at 9:30 a.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC3 with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. The Blues are going all out for maximum points at Stamford Bridge.
Stevaus flipped it back to him. The Brazilian connection working nicely. João Pedro for two, and he's done it. The Blues Brazilians at the double here.
However, it is a must-win game for the Clarets to try to escape from the danger zone.
Deflected and in! Oh, Burnley lead! Shot lead for the Clarets.
Bashir Humphries will claim it. It's got a deflection, and Burnley have got an early lead here.
This is the Premier League. Chelsea FC versus Burnley FC, the Saturday 21 February at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. If you're enjoying a breakfast around the breakfast table in the Rampart Ridge area, don't leave it too late before you finish up and get out, because there's a power outage. You probably know that, actually, if you're at the breakfast table. Power outage in Rampart Ridge. Multiple lights are down and heavy pressure, particularly Beyers Nordier, Lifestyle, Beyers Nordier, Jim Forshire, John Foster, and all the other routes that link in that area, but particularly Beyers Nordier. It's heavy. Just up the road a little bit, both sides. Malabongwe is heavy from North Riding down towards the N1 and south of Rampart Ridge, 14th Avenue. Traffic lights down around the N1, so some fairly heavy traffic in from Hillfox on Hendrik Poortgiet and up from Constantia Kloof area on 14th Avenue. A lot of issues outside of Joburg this morning. Breakdown on the N1 through Diepkloof Interchange onto the N12 towards Uncle Charlie's. North and southbound traffic queuing this morning on that section of the M1 highway. Crossing into Durban, a reminder of roadworks at Paradise Valley. N3 linking through Paradise Valley onto the M13 into Pinetown. That gets really busy through peak times. And Cape Town, just very, very busy. Highways are full, and they have been for a while already. N1 inbound Brackenfell to Sable Road. R300 north to the Van Riebeeck Road exit. N2 at Khayelitsha is bad. And the M3 is already queuing from beyond Constantia all the way up into Newlands. We are hearing of a bit more protest action as well further up the M3 around the UCT off-ramp. So just maybe another busy morning through Rosebank and Rondebosch Newlands areas. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Sorry I'm late, Sevi. Had to fetch my lucky putter. No worries. Let's go. We're teeing off in an hour. Great. We're taking your car. Can't. It's already taken. What do you mean taken? It was right here when I left a few minutes ago. I sold it to Weber Cars and made a whole lot of green. Birdie told me that's the best way to sell your car. Not only the best way, it's the fair way. Kom ons vat die pad.
Don't be doof, be savvy. We buy cars geared for a fast sale, geared for you.
This February, love staying informed. As your day winds down and the evening begins, Primetime News moves to a new home. Weekdays at 6 p.m. The stories that matter, the context you trust, the news that connect you to South Africa and the world. Because loving what you watch also means trusting what you hear. Primetime News is weeknights at 8 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
9 minutes to 7. The Amazulu Royal Chancellor, Inkosi Malusi Zondi, has vowed to defend the interests of black and emerging farmers following the collapse and pending liquidation of Tongaat Hulett, one of the largest sugar industry players in KwaZulu-Natal and the broader SADC region. After prolonged business rescue efforts failed, the company is now entering liquidation, a development that delivers a severe blow to black and emerging sugarcane farmers and workers who are already owed significant payments. With liquidation proceedings expected to take, something in the region of some 3 years or more, affected farmers face further financial uncertainty. Let's speak to Inkosi Malusi Zondi, the Amazulu Royal Chancellor, who joins me now. Good morning to you, Kakashe, and thank you for your time this morning. Liquidation is really the worst outcome as far as the management of a distressed company, but here we are. The rescue efforts have not yielded a successful result. Before we get to how you believe the process going forward should be handled, just the implications of this on local farmers, sugarcane growers, the various supply chains and workers that were supplying Tongaat Hulett.
Thank you so much. I want to greet the listeners, and I really appreciate the platform. It's so saddened that in our day, in our lifetime, we're observing what's currently is happening. An institution which is more than 134 years old, currently faced with this situation, unfortunately, so unfortunate. However, already yesterday we had news that our old senior citizens, our mothers, 2 of them had a stroke attack because of the level of stress that they are currently facing. Already, as you all know, we are impoverished society. There are deep rural people who only live through the survival of planting sugarcane. And currently, it saddens that most of them are going to expect non-payments. That's the reason why isilo samabandla onke inkosi Musizulu indlulamithi yakwaZulu has given us that mandate to say we must go all out as the Zulu nation to prevent this from happening. And that's why we have just started this campaign.
So when we get to the stage of liquidation, it then comes down to the order of priority in terms of who gets paid first, and the rest of the creditors being concurrent creditors and being paid out from what remains in that order of payment. And I'm sure I'm not explaining the liquidation process as properly as perhaps I should. But in your understanding, how will it all work, and what concerns you as far as that prioritization of various categories of creditors?
The challenge here it's selfishness, and it's the level of business people who don't care. The company has been into business rescue for a longest period now. So a company called Vision Group, which is led by Ubaba Robert Gumede, has tried by all means to try and rescue. But the challenge is they kept on paying the business rescue practitioners, which by now the amount of consumption is more than 600 million rand. And obviously ITC has taken the role and the part, but ITC is not affected anyhow because Tongaat Hulett, they've got assets. Now those assets is the sugar and the assets, the machineries that are there. Now the challenge here is once they start paying, the level of payment will be categorized by the demands of, in this current situation, is the business practitioners, which still need to be paid because they are going to preside over this liquidation. And obviously, banks are owed as well. That's why we are going currently as the Royal Chancellor. I am going to invite Ubaba Robert Gumede to try and explain this further so that our demand as the Zulu nation is that they have to prioritize our people first. But beside prioritizing, they have to resolve this. That's why we are calling for ITC, for DTI, for all these government institutions, which needs to come. We have observed in Gauteng, they've already paid 2.9 billion to rescue a company of steel. Now, Tongaat Hulett is a major, huge institution of which we expected even the president to speak about this. We are going to write to the president and we are going to invite Robert Gumede with his Vision Group to try and explain to us why are they failing dismally to put funds where they are necessary, and then we move forward.
So you talking about prioritizing black and emerging sugarcane growers and workers, I suppose speaks to a supply chain downstream industry that had developed to a significant extent during the course of the life of the company known as Tongaat Hulett. Am I correct in that assumption that you saying that should be prioritized, those categories of people should be prioritized, is based on the level of impact that you expect, should they not be prioritized in the order of payment?
Yes, definitely. It's not only about payment currently that we are faced with. We are faced with non-employment, and the people currently who have been servicing Tongaat is not only sugarcane farmers. It's people who have been working direct in Tongaat, servicing all their lifetime. And currently, how many jobs are going to be left unattended, leave alone the farmers? There are people currently who have worked many years in Tongaat, showing loyalty in Tongaat. And this, if it's done, it will be wrongly. 2, the land currently, which we assume that soon Tongaat Hulett get to be liquidated, the amount of which Tongaat will be bought will be lesser and lesser. And the expectation surely is to say those farmers currently, the value of sugar is less, as we have expected currently. Swaziland is is selling sugar to KZN, and we are buying sugar with lesser price in Swaziland. And that says the underestimation of our people is big in KZN because they can't sell sugar because their rate is high. So of which this liquidation will say soon this company is gone. They're going to buy it with lesser price and they're going to go for the land. We assume that it's a development where particularly the buyers want to remove sugarcane in Tongaat and go for the land. And that we can't allow it because the people have been working tirelessly. That's why we demand payments first before we even engage further on why Tongaat is under this situation.
Yeah. So when you say you are going to fight to the bitter end to ensure that that order of prioritization favors black and emerging farmers and others affected by that liquidation, what do you mean? What do you gauge to be your options in this situation?
Because we have been mandated by Isilo Samabandla, the king, Mrs. Zulu, our powers as the Zulu nation is to unite. Firstly, we are going to call upon the unity of farmers. We are going to call upon government to try and assist. That's what you are saying. We need a lobby group that is going to be very strong and a voice that is solid to be patriotic into particularly the farmers. So that's why I'm saying ours is to engage structures of government. That's why we are going to lobby. Lobbying is fighting for our people and to make sure that justice is served to our people, especially because there are institutions which are there at least to give a fresh move to Tongaat by investing. So we are going to lobby government. That's what we mean.
All right. I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Inkosi Malusi Zondi, the AmaZulu Royal Chancellor. Brings us to 7 a.m. Let's go straight to N. Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Thanks to us. In our top stories, DA questions public protector's alleged romantic relationship and fourth suspect in e-hailing driver's killing to appear in court. Good morning. The DA says the National Assembly Speaker must clarify whether the Secretary to Parliament, Xolile George, made a declaration regarding his alleged romantic relationship with the public protector. The DA, in a statement, says Koleka Kaleka has recused herself from a probe into his salary increase of more than 88% since 2022. The DA had laid the complaint with the public protector regarding the increase and other matters. The party says the Speaker must confirm whether George had made the declaration, as he has an ethical obligation to do so, given the nature of their respective offices. ANC KwaZulu-Natal convener Jeff Radebe has urged members to rebuild branches to run an effective campaign in the upcoming local government elections. Radebe was addressing delegates at the conclusion of the two-day provincial Lekgotla in Durban. He also stressed the importance of ensuring that KwaZulu-Natal reclaims its position as the biggest province in the ANC.
We do understand the challenges of the membership system. Those are being tackled, but it should not stand in the way for us resurrecting the branches of the ANC. So that once again, KwaZulu-Natal must emerge as one of those provinces that can show visible membership.
A fourth suspect in the killing of 22-year-old e-hailing driver Isaac Satlat is expected to make his first appearance in the Pretoria Magistrates Court today. He handed himself over to police yesterday in Attridgeville, Pretoria. Satlat was killed after responding to a trip request. His body and hijacked vehicle were later found abandoned in Attridgeville. Tato Litsaba reports.
The 22-year-old was strangled inside his vehicle in Attridgeville last week. His killing caused an outrage after a video circulated on social media of him being murdered. On Monday, 3 accused Dikeledi Mphahlele, Khwetsione Machidi and McLaren Mushwana briefly appeared in the Pretoria Magistrates Court, facing charges of premeditated murder and robbery aggravating circumstances. The trio abandoned their bail application and will return to court next week.
The city of Ekurhuleni has issued a stern warning to residents of Gugulethu informal settlement in Springs east of Johannesburg about the dangers of illegal mining. Residents have taken over a kraal where gold particles were allegedly discovered. City of Ekurhuleni spokesperson Pagamile Mbengashe says they are on a mission to track the kingpins behind the operation that continues to threaten the country's mineral resources.
This is a national problem. It's just that here we've never seen it on a scale in the open public like this. But the message we want to send out to the public and anybody who else has ideas like this is that we're not going to tolerate it. Yes, we did take time in terms of an intervention, but that was in the interest of public safety. But now we do know, and with experience from an operation that's coming, we'll be able to stop any operation like this.
And finally, US President Donald Trump says he believes Iran wants to make a deal over its nuclear program. His comments came on the eve of a second round of indirect negotiations between American and Iranian representatives in Geneva, mediated by Oman. The Iranian Foreign Ministry has said the US had moved towards a more realistic position on talks on its nuclear program. Trump was speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One.
I'll be involved in those talks indirectly, and they'll be very important. We'll see what can happen. It's been typically Iran's a very tough negotiator. They're good negotiators, or bad negotiators. I would say they're bad negotiators because we could have had a deal instead of sending the B-2s in to knock out their nuclear potential, and we had to send the B-2s. I hope they're going to be more reasonable. They want to make a deal.
Recapping the top story, the DA says the National Assembly Speaker must clarify whether the Secretary to Parliament, Xolile George, made a declaration regarding his alleged romantic relationship with the Public Protector. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
This February, Outsurance's love language is saving you money on your car insurance. Like 35-year-old Becca, who saves an unbelievable 500 Rand on her 2022 VW T-Cross. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Why wait? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines Soccer News. Orlando Pirates are playing down the title decider talk ahead of the massive showdown with Mamelodi Sundowns. And in rugby, the race to inherit Siya Kolisi's iconic number 6 jersey begins. We'll have the details around 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning, Rampart Ridge, western side of Joburg with a power outage this morning. Lots of delays out that way, particularly Beyers Nordia around Lifestyle, Jim for Sheer, Beyers Nordia, John Foster. If you commute out of Rampart Ridge, make sure you got plenty of time to get out. Malabongwe, just to the north of that, north riding down towards the M1's heavy, and no traffic lights. 14th Avenue at the N1's, there's a lot of congestion through that Constantia Kloof and that run-in on Henrik Portgieter from Hillfox down towards the M1. All very heavy backlogs there as well. Joburg, a stationary vehicle still with us on the N1 Rams to the N12 at Deepcliff, so north and southbound traffic held up there. Roadworks on the N17 coming through to Gothcliff Plaza. If you're driving in from Boksburg or Springs, there's some heavy traffic to work through there as well. N1 mid-Rand section from Bruckfontein down to Olifantsfontein, congested across all lanes. Durban M7 going into Pinetown, doesn't look too bad this morning. Keep a check on that. It was busy a little bit earlier today. The M13 coming out of Pinetown, St John's Avenue down to the N3 looks bad, and Cape Town just heavy on the highways. The N1 inbound from Brackenfell to Coburg at a change. M3's backed up from Constantia to Newlands, and some protesting as you come off the M3 again at the UCT. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's just gone 8 minutes after 7. Welcome to it, the second hour of the Morning Brief on this Tuesday. Absolutely great to be in your company, and I look forward to our conversations throughout the remaining 2 hours of the show. You can call me on 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, or you can send me a WhatsApp voice note or even a message to 0614 104 107. Among some of what we will cover over this hour, we'll start with a conversation with Vanessa Leroux. She is the founder of Parents for Equal Education South Africa. And this in the wake of her criticism of the admissions policy at Stellenbosch University. Stellenbosch University defending its 2026 admissions process, this following public allegations of unfair treatment after a rejected application sparked controversy. Vanessa Leroux will join me and tell me why she's less than happy about the processes around admissions at Stellenbosch University. For its part, the university revealing that it received around 106,000 applications, undergraduate applications for this academic year, but it only has space for just over 6,000 first-year students across all faculties. And you can imagine it's a story that replicates itself at various other universities across the country at the start of this year. So Vanessa Leroux is my guest coming up in the next few minutes. And then immediately after that, we turn our attention to issues to do with safety in the e-hailing and, platform-based transportation services. We'll be speaking to Melitemba Mnguni. That video will remain etched in the minds of many, the video of the killing of that e-hailing driver out in Pretoria West. That's if you were able to watch it all and go through it all. But it is really emblematic and symptomatic of just how broken the system is, just what our situation is, the reality of our situation as far as crime goes in this country. So Melitemba Mnguni, Secretary General of the E-Hailing Partners Council, will join me at about 7:20. Your calls, of course, as I said, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes, 0614 104 107. With that said, then, let's get into it. The second hour of the Morning Brief starts now.
This February, fall in love with friendships that feel like family. Old bonds, new beginnings, and chapters that remind us why love, in all its forms, matters. The story comes full circle in The Best Man, the final chapters, where love, loyalty, and life collide one last time. Because some stories stay with you long after the final scene. The Best Man, the final chapters, weeknights 7 p.m. only on S3. S3.
It's time to say yes to Montreux Jazz Festival Franschhoek, happening in Franschhoek from the 27th to the 29th of March 2026. It's 3 days, 2 stages, the Archers and Jazz Village, and a jazz-inspired multi-genre experience, plus a chilled Sunday slowdown to close. Featuring the legendary Salif Keita, Herbie Tswayedi, Andile Yenana, Ayanda Sigate, Sisonke Konti, Madala Gunene, and Sibusile Xaba. Plus Mandisi Jantjis, Billy Munama, Kesivan Naidu, Mos Mohale, Vusi Mahlasela, and more than 20 additional artists still to be announced. This is where Montreux meets Africa. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster, or you can visit mjfsa.com in partnership with the SABC.
You are listening to The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
12 minutes after 7. In fact, make that 30 minutes after 7. Stellenbosch University coming out to defend its 2026 admissions process following public allegations. And by the way, I've got to give credit to the initial reporting of Independent Online and the Cape Argus on this story. As I was saying, Stellenbosch University defending its 2026 admissions process following public allegations of unfair treatment after a rejected application sparked controversy. The dispute escalated after Vanessa Leroux, founder of Parents for Equal Education South Africa, questioned whether coloured students were being disproportionately affected by admissions decisions within the university's highly competitive selection process. Leroux publicly alleged that her niece had been unfairly denied admission for the second consecutive year and suggested that coloured applicants were being marginalized. She joins us now to take the conversation forward. Vanessa Leroux, founder of Parents for Equal Education South Africa. Good morning to you and thank you for your time this morning. What makes you believe there's something sinister at play in your niece not securing an admission into Stellenbosch University?
Hi, good morning to Thulasizwe and good morning to your listeners. Do you know what? At first, I was a little bit skeptical because she was waiting for an answer and no one gave an answer. She was checking a portal daily, and I remember last year it happened to my son, where I literally said a week before, "Hey, let's go to campus to find out." And what happened to him was so shocking because at the time when we got to the head of faculty, she literally said to him, "Oh, 50% of your class didn't register yet. So, but I'm not going to be, there's children with better marks than you." And I said to her, "But I'm not here for other children. I'm here for mine. And I'm not asking you a special favor. I'm asking you, is he meeting the criteria that you've set?" Yes, he's meeting the criteria. I said, and 50% of the children didn't register yet. A week before the classes start, she said yes. And she turned the monitor to us to show us. And she said, "But I'm not going to accept him." Literally, without any merit. And I said to her, "You're not going to play God over my child. If I'm you, I'll remember his name. And then you can remember mine too. I'm guaranteeing you, my son is going to start here on Monday." I'm not that type of black parent. Because I was so infuriated because you could have literally seen at registration, you could have seen the apartheid style type of privilege that's still there. And we must speak about it because at registration, the line is long with all the white students and their parents sipping smoothies, making jokes. And here on the other side is the black parents waiting anxiously to speak to someone through a window. And I said to this person, "I'm not speaking through a window. I'm not that type of black parent."
Yeah.
I said, "Someone will get me an office."
So, Vanessa, what makes this issue have a racial dimension as opposed to general pressure on the system? For example, Stellenbosch's explanation is that they've received approximately 106,000 applications for undergraduate spots, and they can only offer 6,000 slots for first-year study across all faculties. So no matter how you slice it, someone was always going to not get accepted.
The thing is, why must it be always our blacks that must be sliced? And the more they speak, the more they lie, you know? And they are so arrogant in their lies. And my question to the rector and his students, they didn't answer it because I asked him on Friday in an email because they tried to keep me away. I said to him, are you here to change the inequalities and make a legacy of your own and change things? Or are you just another face of color that must communicate white decisions to us? I said, there's a difference. I want to know, are you just another face of color that must communicate white decisions to us as black people? Because what they are now doing, they divide colored and black. They say they have taken just over 6,000. And the arrogance of it all to think that we can't count. In South Africa, white people are the minority. If they say And I'm just taking the numbers that they've given, not that I'm concocting or something. 3,500. From that 6,000, 3,579 of them are white. Please, come on now.
Yeah. In fact, just for further context, as you cite those demographic breakdowns, because it has had to come down to that in this conversation, Stellenbosch University putting out figures and saying that they don't back your claim that black applicants and other categories of applicants are being disproportionately rejected. So you cite the figure of 3,578 white applicants that have been accepted in 2026. They say juxtapose that with 3,531 black Africans and 1,236 colored students that have been accepted, and 252 Indian students who have been accepted. And if you put that figure of black as a broad category, they say it doesn't support the claims that you are making.
So how does that not support? That's their fears. Because they said it's not a race issue. How can it not be a race issue? You ask our children in this day and time, because we just want our children to be law-abiding citizens and do their best. You ask our children what the race they are, and you treat them accordingly. So must we just keep quiet? I am not that type of black parent that will keep quiet. I'm not that type of black aunt that will keep quiet. Initially, I just mentioned it to the assistant registrar, who happens to be a white woman too. The reality is the decision makers is white people. And those that must come and bring the message to us is people of color. And she said, oh yes, Stellenbosch, we don't see color. And I was so angry. And I said to her, and that's the thing, you blind white people, I keep on continuing thinking it's cute when you say to black people, you're not seeing color. Yes, you must see my white face so that you can acknowledge my sacrifices, so that you can acknowledge where I come from, so that you can acknowledge that I must still fight you, so that you do not think that you have the authority to think my child is good enough.
Lastly, Vanessa, then, what's the process of trying to get the situation resolved? Where are you with that process at the moment? Are you engaging with the university, or what's the plan?
No, at this point, we're not engaging, but I'm not going to stop. That's what I'm going to say.
All right.
I'm not going to stop. This is an ugly snake, and we shouldn't be scared to speak about it. We owe it to our children that we are not our great-grandmothers. These people are not going to decide their fate. They are, because really, this child, and I didn't even know about this color thing until people came forward. There was this child that they wanted to evict after accepting her. This child comes from a poor background.
Yeah.
They were busy evicting this child. She's a colored child.
All right. Vanessa, thank you for talking to us this morning. Obviously, we will need to reach out to Stellenbosch University to get their side of the story. That's Vanessa Leroux, founder of Parents for Equal Education South Africa.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Ezimnyama Ngenkani want to be remembered for stopping the reigning champions. However, Masandawana believe the Buccaneers will experience a long night of sadness.
This is the Betway Premiership. Lizakazini forever.
Catch the big clash between Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns on Wednesday, 18 February at 6:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC3. Then at 7:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
23 minutes after 7, a fourth suspect has now been arrested in connection with the brutal murder of an e-hailing driver in Pretoria West, which was captured on dashcam video and went viral on social media. The fourth suspect handed himself over to police after the earlier appearance in court by the first three arrested suspects, who have all abandoned their bail bids. The blood-curdling incident has e-hailing drivers in Gauteng and certainly across the country intensifying their calls for stronger safety protections. The case has reignited concerns about among drivers who say they routinely operate under threat of hijackings, armed robberies, assaults and targeted violence. Let's speak to Melithemba Mnguni, Secretary General of the E-Hailing Partners Council, who joins us now. Good morning to you and thank you for your time this morning. It is difficult to capture in words just how horrifying that video is, but perhaps how emblematic it is of our crime situation. What is an ordinary day-to-day activity, economic activity, leading to such a brutal death. Just your own sense from the e-hailing community of reaction to that incident and the subsequent events, including the arrests that have happened.
These are scenes, Thulasizwe, maybe firstly, good morning to you and to the listeners. These are scenes that we usually imagine when we go to these crime scenes, when we see the deceased and so forth. But to see how David was strangled to death, it's terrifying. We always imagine how one would have been killed, and we don't get to have those visuals. When we saw what we saw there, it's really terrifying. But that's the reality of e-hailing drivers. This is not an isolated incident. This is happening on a daily basis. It's just that this one was captured on camera. We got to have a glimpse of how these robberies and murders happen.
What are the factors that enhance the vulnerability of e-hailing drivers, from the interactions with people who are, for all intents and purposes, complete strangers other than what you have by way of the profile on the app, to perhaps assets and other things that may be, an object of attraction for those who are seeking to commit crimes?
Look, the lack of accountability attracts these criminals to continue. This has become a lucrative platform for them to commit crime because they are able to create these e-hailing accounts, masquerade as passengers. They easily rob and hijack the drivers, and they get away with it. So without that accountability, they have found an easy way in which they can commit these crimes. So that's why they keep on going to the e-hailing drivers. And then first of all, they know as a guarantee that there is a smartphone that they're going to find from the driver, because to operate e-hailing, the apps, you need a phone that is good enough, but also there is cash that is handled between the passengers and the driver. So they always know that they're always going to get that, and they're going to get away with this crime, and it encourages them to keep going.
So is this conversation happening in the relevant spaces, Melithemba, as far as the e-hailing platforms themselves are concerned, looking at other innovations that could perhaps mitigate those vulnerabilities? I don't know. Is there anything that further that can be done, perhaps by way of profiling passengers, by way of police, the ability to get quicker reaction from police?
This is a conversation that has taken place since around 2016 when we saw the rampant rise of crime towards e-hailing drivers. Unfortunately, the app companies are reluctant to commit to security measures, especially for drivers. And Uber on its side has tried, hence there's less crimes on the Uber platforms compared to platforms such as Bolt and your InDrive. What we have done is to try, we've had a number of protests protesting the issue of lack of security measures. But what we have clearly realized is that it is not in their interest. Hence, we resorted to approaching our government to say, let them regulate the security and safety measures within the e-hailing. Make them be a requirement and a standard that an app company that operates within the country must be compelled to implement these security measures. It's very unfortunate that the regulations came out last year and they missed most of that part. For an example, we had requested that let the surveillance cameras be installed in each and every e-hailing car. They completely omitted that. So it's a voluntary thing that you have to do as a driver. It's an expensive exercise. You can have some of these cameras, but they do not have a saver. If you're going to have a camera that's got a saver somewhere, like the incident of David, it's an expensive exercise. But these are part of the requirements that we requested, and they were completely missed. Yeah. But also the camera assist for the evidence. Sometimes if it's seen, the criminals run away. What we had requested was to say, let's have measures that prevent death. Let each and every user of a platform be verified so that they know that when they commit crime, they will be traced back. And this has not happened. The regulations are silent to that. Hence, we are taking a route of litigation to get them set aside and be reviewed.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Melithemba Mnguni, Secretary General of the E-Hailing Partners Council. Brings us to just after 7:30. Let's go to N Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the Gauteng Department of Education is to conduct an inquiry into the death of a 10-year-old grade 5 learner from Riagile Primary School in the Winnie Mandela area of Tembisa. He was killed yesterday after a goalpost fell on him while he was playing on the school's soccer field. The DA says the National Assembly Speaker must clarify whether the Secretary to Parliament, Xolile George, made a declaration regarding his alleged romantic relationship with the Public Protector. And Johannesburg residents who were without water for almost 2 weeks are calling on government to find the root cause of the frequent shortages. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Our top story, power outage in Rand Park Ridge this morning. Any major or minor route for that matter through Rand Park Ridge heavily backed up. Bayers Nordia, Easterhood John Foster Gym for Share taking the brunt of that. A little bit further north, Malabongwe heavy due to traffic light issues at Kaya Sam. And then north riding through Stratham Park on that section of Malabongwe. Really quite a heavy backlog as well. N1 north and south slow through Deepcliff interchange towards Uncle Charlie's. That's a broken down truck as you come off the N1 and ramp onto that N12 both ways off the N1 highway, quite heavy. Midrand, Olifantsfontein, a bad morning for motorists stuck from Blue Hills across towards the N1 highway. Coming out of Mamelodi and Pretoria, Solomon Mshlangu going to be asked to queue down towards the N4. That traffic pushing all the way back through Bronkhorstspruit Road. And the N4, this is the Rustenburg or Bekwena highway, quite a heavy queue into Durham Port Plaza trying to get through to the N1 highway today. Durban's M7, that's heavy going in towards Pinetown. Looks like something may have broken down or crashed just before the N3. So from Queensborough, North Dean, North Park area. It gets pretty heavy on the M7 getting into Pinetown. A breakdown just after Umgetta Road on your way to Spaghetti Junction, so that's slow. And Durban's M4 Southern Freeway, very busy this morning, all backed up from Umbilo Congela up in towards Victoria Embankment. Cape Town, day 2 of UCT protest. That's having a major impact on the M3 off-ramp to the university. M3 backs from Constantia right up through Newlands, and there will be an impact through Rosebank, Newlands and Rondebosch area as well. Those multiple sort of approach roads up into that UCT precinct are under pressure as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. The word is blockbuster. Blockbuster, Orlando Pirates versus Mamelodi Sundowns, and some are talking about it as being potentially a title decider.
Yes, Thulas, that's right. Blockbuster, yes, but let's not roll the end credits of this Netflix movie just yet, because the league, it has a lot of sequels, and I don't think the league can be decided in February, but nevertheless, no one is panicking, and we'll get to hear from Orlando Pirates captain Nkosinathi Sibisi downplaying tomorrow night's blockbuster against Mamelodi Sundown and insisting it's not a title decider, with Pirates leading the Betway Premiership, Sundowns chasing closely. The clash at FNB Stadium has been billed as season-defining. Let's go now to the newly signed Orlando Pirates attacker, Andre de Jong, believing his move to the Sea Robbers greatly improves his chances of playing at the 2026 FIFA World Cup in the US, Mexico and Canada in 4 months' time. Now, he was speaking he joined from Stellenbosch FC, and he was looking forward to being with the team, especially saying Pirates is a high-profile team and that can help his World Cup selection chances.
Yeah, I think it's massive. I think this was one of the reasons why the move was so big for me close to the World Cup. Obviously, coming up to World Cup selection, the All Whites have a couple of games in March back home, so would really be keen to be involved in that. And then I think anyone in the PSL is pushing, obviously, Bafana at the World Cup as well, so I think it's lifting the standard of the competition. As well as Pirates, you've got 9 players who are called up for AFCON, and a lot of other people have aspirations to make the World Cup for Bafana. So I think, there's tons of competition, and hopefully can grab that opportunity for the All Whites.
Elsewhere, Benfica manager Jose Mourinho has warned that Real Madrid will be wounded and dangerous as the sides prepare to meet again in the Champions League playoffs. Benfica sealed qualification with a 4-2 win over Madrid last month, capped by goalkeeper Anatoly Trubin's 98-minute header, and the defeat dropped the 15-time champions out of automatic spots. On to some more action, and this time it's rugby, where we look forward to seeing the likes of this story, and it's 4 new referees from South Africa that have been hailed as quite a feat for the South African teams. SA Rugby President Mark Alexandra congratulating the South African women for the upcoming Women's Six Nations tournament. Amy Barrett-Theron will reach a landmark 50th test, becoming only the second woman globally to do so, while Zoe Nordia joins her in the Senior Six Nations, with Gianna Falloon has been added to the inaugural Under-21 Women's Six Nations panel. And that's your sport. We'll wrap it up with more at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Dauleng Lichela is back with another update for this morning. Dauleng, I suppose there are no brownie points or marks to be earned by me for impressing you by telling you that I understand the difference between the prime lending rate and the repo rate.
Is it because I told you, or did you do your own research?
Look, it's a bit of both, but you take a lot of the credit, so I will not regurgitate it and hope for brownie points. But tell me about the SARB moving ahead with their plans to ditch the prime rate.
Yeah, so some clarity coming through from the Reserve Bank to us when it comes to the prime rate review. The central bank has proposed scrapping the prime lending rate as the benchmark for home loans and other credit. In a consultative white paper, policymakers said prime has become largely administrative and no longer reflects how banks actually price loans. But here's the catch, right? The Reserve Bank wants banks to link loans directly to the repo rate, soon to be called the SARB policy rate, and then add a clear extra percentage that reflects their costs and the customer's risk profile. So for you and I, this should not mean higher repayments. A bond currently priced at prime minus 1% would simply be expressed as policy rate plus a margin, with the numbers expected to work out much the same. So really just an administrative move and not necessarily about narrowing that gap between the repo and prime as suggested before. Meanwhile, banks, commercial banks that is, and other stakeholders have been invited to submit comments before a final decision is made.
Yeah, but because I said I will earn no brownie points, you then neglected, though, Dowling, to take everyone on board. Do explain it, okay?
All right. So the prime rate is what the Reserve Bank would borrow the commercial bank's money, whereas not the prime rate. Oh, you see, I'm getting it confused now.
Here we go.
The repo rate.
Yes.
Repo rate that's at 6.75% set by the Reserve Bank is what the SARB would borrow commercial banks at, whereas the prime rate is what you and I borrow money at from commercial banks, so from a Standard Bank, ABSA, etc., etc. Most of our agreements would be prime plus 1%, prime plus 2% on your profile as a customer.
There you go. Let's turn to Telkom. Their data strategy is starting to bear fruit, is it?
Yes, you're right there, Thulas. Strong mobile data growth and disciplined cost cutting have lifted Telkom's third quarter performance. Now, the telecoms group reported an 8.4% rise in core profit for the 3 months to December, and this was supported by an increase in mobile service revenue and continued momentum in data. Now, group data revenue climbed 9.6% to 6.9 billion rand, now contributing around 60% of total revenue, with mobile data up nearly 13% and fiber-related data rising close to 9%. Now, Telkom is really the only telecoms operator that is recording growth in the prepaid market here at home. We've seen numbers out from Vodacom, numbers out from MTN, where they are losing some market share when it comes to that part of the business. Telkom says its aggressive prepaid data strategy continues to resonate with cost-conscious consumers, helping mobile subscribers surpass 25 million. Now, data subscribers surged more than 29%. The fiber unit also performed well as OpenServe recorded a third consecutive quarter of growth, supported by steady fiber monetization. Markets really liked the numbers, with Telkom shares closing 6% higher in yesterday's trading session, adding to a rally that's seen the stock climb more than 65% over the past year.
So what's shaping and moving the markets at this hour, Dowling?
Kicking things off in Asia, trade is thin, with most markets closed for the Chinese New Year. Japan remains open, though, with the Nikkei down 0.8%. We're seeing markets really looking for direction with these holidays in play, and also after President's Day in the US. This, of course, ahead of a busy week with Fed minutes and PCE figures. Taking all of that into account, US futures are currently in the red. Bringing it back home, local markets in positive territory yesterday, with the all-share index closing 0.3% higher, and this despite some pressure on resources as precious metals pulled back. Checking in on currency markets, the rand trading weaker at 16.03 to the dollar, 21.81 to the pound, and 18.98 to the euro. Oil prices trading in the green this morning, with Brent trading above $67 a barrel. Investors on that front, of course, are keeping a close eye on those upcoming US-Iran talks.
Hey, why shy and Ganegalichela? If I knew your clan names, I'd be breaking out in those. What are they? Finally, I asked you a question whose answer you don't have. After 2 years,
Now,
finally.
you see, my parents are listening to this. And
At long last, I asked you a question whose answer you did not have at the tip of your fingers. Thank you for always being awake, Ndauling. Always ready for my curveball questions. Ndauling Lechela will come back with one more update just after 8:30.
This February, fall in love with the journey. No phones, no flights, just determination, connection, and the open road. From breathtaking landscapes to unexpected challenges. Race Across the World is back. Bigger, bolder, and more emotional than ever. Because sometimes the best way to find yourself is to travel together. Race Across the World Season 4, Thursdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Ezimnyama Ngenkani want to be remembered for stopping the reigning champions. However, Masandawana believe the Buccaneers will experience a long night of sadness.
This is the Betway Premiership. Lisekazini forever.
Catch the big clash between Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns on Wednesday, 18 February at 6:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Then at 7:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SFM Radio.
All right, the buffet, the conversation buffet is decked out this morning. All sorts of issues on the table. JMPD, I see someone wants to talk, of course, about the issues around e-hailing and safety in those sectors, as well as the conversation we had earlier on about the admissions policy and the allegation that is being made by at least one parent who has started an organization that relate to admission policies at Stellenbosch University. Let me take you through the variety and then I'll turn over to the calls.
Morning, Tulas. Could it be true that JMPD, their house is in order? They are clean, there is no corruption there. Or they are just covering their backs. They don't want to blow whistles on each other. Same applies to Tshwane Metropolis there. Is their house also clean there? What is happening to EMPD must happen to all these metros. Must happen there. We must find out what is happening there. Anonymous,
thank you for that. 100% in alignment with you. It's time now for us to get a clear sense of who are these people we've entrusted with leadership of the various police departments in the various cities, but also the SAPS, law enforcement in general. I think we've seen enough from the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry to know that the rot is deep, and so the cleansing that needs to happen needs to be deeper.
Hello, it's Zig of Randburg, pointing out that e-hailing has a built-in system of security which prevents drivers from being murdered by their e-hailers, because these e-hailers have to disclose their credit cards to the e-hailing system and therefore are identifiable if they should be murdering their drivers.
Except those, Zig, people can set up fake profiles and register, but also payment in cash remains an option for these e-hailing services. So not everyone will be using a credit card that is traceable back to them. There'll be those people who register and then say, I will pay cash. That way, it's a fake profile, and they're saying they will pay cash. So by the time the passenger, quote-unquote passenger, arrives, the driver really has no idea who this person is.
Good morning, Thulas. You are speaking to Welekazi in Durban. As I'm listening to Inkosi Umalusi Zondi, I'm waiting for the part where he says the Zulu Kingdom because we care so much as Amazulu, we are going to bail out the company so that we can save all these jobs and all these problems that we are seeing. But I don't understand, why do they want other people to do it? Why can't they take the money from Ingonyama Trust and bail out Hulett, since it's so important? I think there's a level of grandstanding there, but yeah. Thank you.
No, I hear you. It's a valid question. And in fact, perhaps an omission on my part to ask him, what have you done on your part to try and rescue and save Tongaat Hulett, given the importance that it has for the economy, employment creation, and the value chain in agriculture? It's a solid question, valid question. And yeah, as I say, perhaps an omission on my part. Let's take a traffic update and then I'll come back with the calls. I see Peggy, Victor, and David. I'm coming to you next.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy getting into Pretoria on Paul Kruger. There's a big backlog of traffic coming through Capital Park down in towards the central area. The N1 going north is quite slow as well from the R21 up through Rigel on your way to Garsfontein. That's an unusual queue. The N14 under pressure again. You're going to be asked to sit in traffic. That's the Krugersdorp Highway between the R55 and the N1. There's a little operation on your way to Pretoria causing a big backlog there. The Mike 1 solid again this morning from Boysons all the way up to Grayston Drive. There's some problems getting into Sandton as well. Grayston at Webber. That is very slow on your way sort of towards Rivonia Junction. And Rivonia and south in from Morningside to central Sandton heavy. Also William Mandela onto Sandton Drive down to Grayston. That's quite heavy as well. A lot of pressure into that central Sandton area. The Deepcliff interchange, the truck is being cleared, but it's still slow. N1 onto the N12 down to Southgate. If you're northern parts of KZN, leaving Mpangeni towards Richards Bay, just by the hospital, Melmont Hospital, the R34 John Ross, there's some traffic lights, badly short timing, and there's an amazing backlog of traffic on that John Ross Highway. A lot of probably trucks involved in that as well, but Richards Bay bound is really significant. Crash on Edwin Swales and South Coast Road Junction, so expect some extra delays getting through there. And Durban's M4 is heavily back this morning, both ways into Virginia Airport, north from Blue Lagoon and southbound coming out of the Mhlanga side. Cape Town, day 2 of protest at UCT entrance, so the M3 inbound from Constantia this morning, queues all the way right through to that Princess Anne off-ramp into the university, and there is a bit of a pushback behind that down through Rondebosch and Rosebank. So another very busy morning. They're busy areas anyway with commuting traffic this time of morning, and those protests just taking that next level on us. N7 south, a crash at the N1. That's going to start to get really heavy coming through from Plattercliff and Bosman's Dam Road this morning. And the R300 again, it's a really busy routing these days. This morning between Hindle Road and Old Pal Road up in Brackenfell, solid all the way through. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
Get Spar super savings at every store, in every aisle, every day. Like 2-litre Sparletta, twist or iron brew, any 2 for 28. Save 8 Rand. Or 200-gram Baker's Blue Label Mori biscuits, any 2 for 32. Save 12 Rand. Now that's super savings. Prices valid from 9 till 22 February. While stocks last, only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
Catch the season premiere of Color Your Plate this Sunday evening at 7 as 4 hungry home cooks step into the kitchen to reimagine beloved family favorites in bold and unexpected ways. With the return of a Sterling from a previous season judging their every move, only one will earn the chance to progress and cook alongside them in the next round. Who will impress and take the first step forward? Find out on Color Your Plate, Sundays at 7 p.m, repeat Saturdays at 4:30, only on SABC2.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let's start with a call from David out in Pietermaritzburg. Good morning to you, David.
Good morning, Thulasizwe.
Yes, good morning. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Norman, one is concerned about the exclusion, which is deliberate, of black teachers in the former Model C schools here in Durban and surroundings. Thulas, when you go to the schools, you discover that they are dominated by white and Indians as teachers. In some of these schools, you find that the few black teachers that you see are only teaching isiZulu.
Mm-hmm.
So it tells you that if isiZulu was not offered in that school, there wouldn't be any black teacher.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't stop there. When you go and check the list of service providers, I bet you don't find a single black service provider, because there are lots of services that are offered in these schools, but it's so disturbing. And another thing, my concern is the role of the Department of Education in terms of ensuring that the employment equity policy is implemented in these schools. As to, do they have the role to play? If so, why are not they are reluctant to play it? So I would like you to invite the Department of Education for them to provide clarity in terms of their role if they have the role to play. Why are they not playing it to ensure black teachers are also hired? Because we only see black people as cleaners in these schools, you know.
I hear you, David. And I now remember that you are the caller that we took quite late yesterday, and I said we'll have to start with you so that you outline your concerns. So is it your sense that it is by design that the demographics don't reflect the demographics of the broader society, or is it a factor of where the school is located, such that, if it draws professionals from the surrounding areas, naturally the demographics will be the way that they are? Do you think there's something going on? There's more to it than just mere demographics of the area where the school is located?
The implementation of the employment equity is based on the demographics, I think, of the city or the province. So I don't think it will be based on the specific area. But my surprise is that these are former model C schools which were designed to only accommodate white people, but they've been able to include Indians and exclude black people. For me, it's deliberate. It's not a mistake.
All right. David, thank you for calling in. This is an interesting one. Let's see what the experiences of other people and interpretation of other South Africans is as far as their observations on that are concerned. Victor in Soshanguve. By the way, Victor, before you even go anywhere, maybe it's a topic for another day. I don't live in Soshanguve. I think we lived there when I was much younger with my mother years ago, like really young. It's one of the name changes. If it were to happen, I would support it. But don't come for me, people of Soshanguve, okay? I'm not asking for your name to be changed. I just think Sotos, Shangans, Ngunis, and vendors, something should have changed somewhere there. Badasikolap. Good morning.
Good morning. I think as long as you don't change it to Lane, I think most of us would be okay with the new name.
You would be fine.
Would be fine.
Yeah.
Good morning, Thulas.
Good morning.
I think what I want to touch on basically, I think the last voice note that you played, the lady from KZN, hit the nail in the head. What I wanted to say is, I find it strange that as South Africans we have a sense of entitlement. Most of the time we demand high salaries. Then after that we complain about the cost of living. Cost of living are directly proportional to what you earn. Because whatever that companies give us, they have to claw it back somewhere. And the best way to claw it back is by increasing salaries. If we want electricity every day, Eskom has to increase prices. But generally, I've never had unions saying, please do not close the company. We are willing to take a salary cut. Please do not close the company. We are willing to freeze our demands for salary increases. We complain about high unemployment in the country. Yet every year, we go on strike. The more you strike, the more businesses lose money. And the more they go like, okay, in order for us to recover, let us reduce the number of people whom we employ. I'm just saying, we need to rethink our mentality as South Africans. You cannot always take, but you don't want to give. Because otherwise the system is going to collapse.
I hear you. I hear you 100%, Victor. But just as a matter of fact, the example of, as I let you go, Victor, the example of unions foregoing increases in the interest of saving a company. I've seen that. It has happened a few times where, one or two unions. Of course, there are those that will say we will never compromise, would rather sink with the ship. But we have seen a few examples, and I'm sure my friends in the labor movement will give us examples of when that has happened. But the broader point that Victor is making, that for every action, there's a reaction, is a point well made, and I take that point. Peggy in Benoni, good morning to you.
Baba Thulasizwe, good morning, and thank you very much for taking my call.
Sure.
And again, thank you very much for hosting Inkosi Unondaba on the discussion about Tongaat Hulett sugar. And I would like also to thank you for keeping alive this issue, because the liquidation of Tongaat Hulett group would probably be one of the greatest man-made disasters that this country will experience in a long time. And it is not exaggeration to say the closure would not only mean the loss of jobs, but a lot of lives. It would be going into tens of thousands of lives which are going to be lost because of the closure of Tongaat Hulett. The request that I'm making to you is that, having hosted this discussion, and I would really request that, whereas Nondaba is representing Kosini, let it be an introduction. It would really be lovely if you were to look at hosting Ubaba Robert Gumede, who is of the Vision Group, and therefore they are in the driving seat of this process. And inviting the CEO of the South African Sugar Association, Mr. Sfiso Mhlaba, and inviting probably the CEO of Industrial Development Corporation, Ume Mahoshi Lekete, and inviting the business rescue practitioners, IMETIS, to a discussion, Tulas, probably if you were to make it an hour, and just say, let's understand, one, can the liquidation be delayed? Because I think if the liquidation is delayed and some people apply their minds on the situation, they would come up with a solution. And two, how to thoroughly then brainstorm who needs to do what. In this country, we have the Unemployment Insurance Fund. It has a lot of money to deal with prevention of unemployment when it can be prevented. We have here, other than the IDC, which I have mentioned, we have the PIC, which is still sitting probably somewhere between 2 and 3 trillion rand, which can help with the development of, or rather the turnaround of the Tongaat Hulett Group. Tongaat Hulett Group produces 30% of sugar. It has the only refinery in the country. And when one looks at the production, among others, of electricity in Felixton, the production of the animal feed, it is one of those which we need to say it is too big to fail. And then with a comment which was made by a guy before, it's to say the reason it failed is because of corporate governance failure by the CEO and the CFO, and therefore let the workers not be allowed to suffer.
All right, Peggy,
but
thank
please
you for that.
Host the meeting, please.
Thank you for that suggestion, Peggy. A solid suggestion, and I think the team was taking down those suggestions. It's certainly a conversation that's worth taking forward, given the dire consequences of this liquidation in the area of KwaZulu-Natal, but broadly in the South African economy. Let's go to Ann Musa, who's standing by with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Gauteng education to probe learners' death and a call on government to find the root cause of water shortages. Good morning. The Gauteng Education Department says they will conduct an inquiry into the death of a 10-year-old grade 5 learner from Reagile Primary School in the Winnie Mandela area of Tembisa. The learner was killed yesterday after a goalpost fell on him while he was playing on the school soccer field. According to preliminary reports, the incident reportedly occurred during the second break. Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve Mabona says police have started with their investigations.
The emergency services were called, they tried to resuscitate, and we are informed that they came within 20 minutes. They tried, but the child then passed on. The police are investigating circumstances surrounding this incident, and you will know that normally they will, open an inquest case docket, and they will take it from there. But we felt that as a department, parallel to this, we will also conduct our own inquiry.
Police in KwaZulu-Natal say they will take legal action against businessman Calvin Matabedi, accusing him of making malicious and baseless claims against the police in the province. This follows a social media post where he accused the police of having plans to kill him. He also accused the provincial police of attempting to intimidate him and damaging his name ahead of his appearance at the Matlanga Commission. Police spokesperson Robert Nechihunda.
In his social media post and the reply to another person's post about police operation at his company's premises, Mr. Matabedi recklessly accused the police in KwaZulu-Natal of being captured by his competitors and that police are a get-rich-quick scheme. He further accused the Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, of issuing an instruction that he, Mr. Matabedi, should be shot and killed. Police in KwaZulu-Natal are working tirelessly to regain the trust that the community must have on police, and no malicious attack on police will be left unchallenged.
The DA says the National Assembly Speaker must clarify whether Secretary to Parliament, Xolile George, made a declaration regarding his alleged romantic relationship with the public protector. The DA, in a statement, says Koleka Kaleka has recused herself from a probe into his salary increase of more than 88% since 2022. The DA had laid the complaint with the public protector regarding the increase and other matters. The party says the Speaker must confirm whether George had made the declaration, as he has an ethical obligation to do so, given the nature of their respective offices. Johannesburg residents who were without running water for almost 2 weeks are calling on government to find the root cause of the frequent shortages. According to activists, water has since been restored to several affected areas across the southern suburbs such as Mondio and Melville, among others. In a State of the Nation address last week, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the formation of a water crisis committee to be chaired by him. Activist Subeya Patel says while this may be a glimmer of hope, government does not have the best track record in such regard.
We were without water for about a week or so, and this is part of the cause for what happens in the southern suburbs area. Sort of on a 3 to 4 month basis, we see this cycle coming around where we've got a week outage. And obviously the excuses we're given is that rainwater is throttling the supply and so on and so forth. The water did start coming back. We had a protest a few days ago. The water did start returning to the taps in the area, I should say, over the past 2 days.
And finally, the British and Canadian Prime Ministers have issued a joint statement saying the NATO military alliance should be more European. Keir Starmer and Mark Carney re-stressed the need to boost defence spending, something President Donald Trump has argued for. The BBC's Nick Johnson reports.
A Downing Street spokesperson said the two leaders also spoke about the deployment of a British-led naval strike group to the North Atlantic, an announcement Sir Keir Starmer made at the Munich Security Conference. This follows widespread European criticism of President Trump's desire to take over Greenland. The spokesperson said the UK and Canada have a deep security and defence relationship, and that the two leaders agreed on the need to increase spending on defence.
Recapping the top story, the Gauteng Education Department say they will conduct an inquiry into the death of a 10-year-old grade 5 learner from Reagile Primary School in the Winnie Mandela area of Tembisa. The learner was killed yesterday after a goalpost fell on him while he was playing on the school's soccer field. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Love is in the air, but with Outsurance, there could be some awesome car insurance savings for you too. Like 27-year-old Liam, who saves an awesome 640 Rand on his 2020 Ford Ranger. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, it is cricket. Adrian Markram saying the Proteas are getting better and better at the T20 World Cup as they advance to the Super 8s. And in rugby, the Sharks are poised to secure the URC SA Shield while the Lions chase a vital home doubleheader. We'll have the details at around 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Rampart Ridge without power, so lots of delays. Multiple routes in that Rampart Ridge area are under pressure today. Joburg's Mike 1, pretty heavy from Boysons all the way through to Grayston. As you come off the highway at Grayston, you sit all the way around to Rivonia Road due to some traffic light issues there. Republic and Jan Smuts, those lights are off as well, going into Sandton from Randburg under quite a bit of pressure. N1, heaviest there between Brockfontein and Olifantsfontein Road. Durban, the N2 northbound, queuing up from the M7 through Westwood Mall. There's also a crash on the southbound side after Umgeni, so coming down into Spaghetti Junction South, it's heavy. Also a collision on Chris Harney Road inbound before Riverside Road, so that's quite heavy on your way into Durban this morning. Cape Town protesting again at UCT. The M3 is under pressure, as are local routes through Rosebank and Rondebosch. N1 from Belleville all the way through to the city centre is heavy. In fact, as you come off the highways, there's a crash on Christian Barnard at Herzog Boulevard. A taxi on its sides. There's a lot of backlogging off the highways, N1 and N2 routes in towards the city centre. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 minutes after 8. Welcome to the third hour of the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107. Live as always across our digital platforms on safm.co.za, but also on Facebook and on the platform known as X. Let me start on a lighter note from Gerald Makafula. Or is it Machafola? You'll correct me about the pronunciation there. Gerald says, on a lighter note, Radio Gold is these moments in between links between Dowling and you, Bratulas. Great moments which make radio sound alive and pure. So Gerald's message is one of many that I've received this morning. The rest of the messages, you know yourselves as people out there who sent those messages. I am not reading those out on air. That's censorship. Yes, censorship live and direct on the radio on SAFM. I've seen your messages. I've sent you reactions. They will not be read on air. To more serious matters, let me go to TG, who says, to think that crime is only in Gauteng and Western Cape is a lie. And in fact, the Madlanga Commission was supposed to cover the rest of the country, as criminals and drug dealers are all over the country and police are corrupt all over the country. And we need accountability across the country, not only in one province or two, says TG. Thank you for that, TG. But of course, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is meant to be national in its focus. But there were specific allegations that were made about the EMPD, JMPD. But the rest of the focus around the SAPS, NPA, judiciary, elements in the judiciary, all of that is meant to be national in complexion. I think let's just wait and see whether further evidence that goes beyond the entities I've just mentioned will be led before the Commission's time is up. MJ Kopitori wants to weigh in on what I suggested earlier on, that here's a name change I would support. So Shanguve. Sotos, Shangans, Ngunis, and vendors. And MJ says, the name Soshanguve is, to me, tribalistic. It must be changed to, you'll never guess this. MJ says, it must be changed to Noweto. And for MJ, that is northwestern townships, because it's in the north and Soweto is in the south. So therefore, you will have a Soweto and have a Noweto. Soshanguve, what do you make of that? Jan in Cape Town says, the daughter of a friend who is white with metric average of 78% was rejected from both UCT and Stellenbosch. She's from Cape Town. It's untrue that universities are rejecting black people for whites, says Jan in Cape Town. Let me lastly read this message from AB, and I'll try and make time to read a few more a bit later on. But AB says, love the guy from Sosha. Building on the topic, the spending power of consumers is shrinking. Sugar tax was implemented without future-proofing the industry. No duties on cheap imports. Further, the sweeteners, which are alternatives to sugar, are mostly imported. Our government lacks risk rigor. We can blame Huletts all we like. So this with BAT as well, says AB. So keep the conversation going. As I said, a number of topics for discussion on the table this morning. The number to dial, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes and messages, 0614 104 107. About the messages that I'm not going to read on air, I realize that I left you hanging. Those who don't know, some of them are about appreciation for Ndauling. That's all I'm going to say. Welcome to the third hour of the morning brief on this Tuesday.
When you train for results, you don't quit halfway. Earn up to 7.35% interest with a Nedbank Just Invest account. Access your money within 24 hours. Keep your money agile. Get money fit with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This February, fall in love with friendships that feel like family. Old bonds, new beginnings, and chapters that remind us why love, in all its forms, matters. The story comes full circle in The Best Man, the final chapters, where love, loyalty, and life collide one last time. Because some stories stay with you long after the final scene. The Best Man, the final chapters, weeknights 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
15 minutes after 8. You remember the scenes that played themselves out in the area of Gwahlati in Ladysmith in KwaZulu-Natal. I think the year was 2021 or thereabouts, where, people thought they had discovered diamonds. Well, something similar is happening in Gauteng. A so-called gold rush has erupted in Paynesville, an informal settlement in the Gugulethu section of Springs, east of Gauteng, where hundreds of residents have descended on a local kraal amid rumors of a gold discovery. Armed with spades and buckets, unemployed community members have been digging up the land for several days now in hopes of striking it rich. The frenzy has raised serious concerns about the geological viability of the alleged find, the risk of illegal mining activity taking root, and the potential for the area to become another hotspot for Zamazama operations. Let's unpack all of those themes. I'm joined by Warren Beach, who is Chief Executive Officer of Beach Feltman Incorporated Attorneys, also a mining expert. Good morning to you, Warren, and thank you for your time this morning. Just your overall thinking and impressions when you saw what was happening. I'll tell you mine, and perhaps you can then reflect your own. I'm skeptical. In diamonds, there's what they call alluvial mining and I think in gold, it also occurs on the banks of rivers and the likes. But knowing how our gold mining works, I'm a bit skeptical. But, share your knowledge and expertise on this issue. Do you share that skepticism?
Good morning. Absolutely. Alluvial gold is such a unique and rare occurrence. It is improbable that alluvial gold will present itself in this area of Springs. As you may know, Springs has been mined for gold for many, many, many years. There are a number of the old and abandoned gold mines there, but the gold was deep. It was, between 600 and 900 meters deep. You don't get it on surface. And the tragedy about something like this is obviously the expectations that it creates in people's minds. And that is the concern, and we're going to see numerous people descending on the area. The community that's already there is going to be disrupted. It creates different dynamics, but the expectations are there, and it's going to be dashed. I share your skepticism. You simply can't walk around and find gold. And reports indicate that this might have been an old gold dump area. If there are particles of gold from those old dumps, it's going to be incredibly small. For example, to get 1 gram of gold from an area like this, you're going to probably have to move and process 2 to 3 tons of soil to get 1 gram of gold, if you're going to get that. And then, of course, there's all of the issues that go along with that, whether it's illegal mining, the use of mercury to process that gold, and then just, of course, all the social concerns around that. So I share your skepticism, number one. Number two, I think it creates an expectation which is not going to be met with the consequences of that. And then lastly, or thirdly, I think that it's going to certainly have an impact on the existing communities there and leave a legacy which we don't want.
Sure. We'll explore those potential legacies and the disruption that it may bring about in that area. But I think it's worth going over that point to a slightly less detailed extent so that we take everyone on board with the conversation. You and I allude to alluvial gold. Just a basic explanation of why you and I are skeptical. What is alluvial gold, alluvial diamond, and why do we believe that it's unlikely that it occurred, that it is to be found in an area such as a kraal in Springs?
So alluvial gold and alluvial diamonds is gold and diamonds, and we're talking about those two minerals that are found on the surface or near the surface or very, very shallow underneath the surface. And as you correctly mentioned when you started, that is deposited usually by water movement and riverbeds and some sort of water course. And it's very rare. It's extremely, extremely rare. Most deposits are well under the ground, and alluvial is close to the surface. And then again, because of the exploration that has happened there over years, if there was any alluvial gold, it would have been found already in that area. There's been development in the area. The reservoirs are there, the municipal reservoirs. They've been built. They went quite deep, so it would have been discovered before. It's surface. Alluvial gold and diamonds are usually found near the surface, usually as a result of historical water movement, and you're 100% correct in that regard.
So what are the concerns about the processes? Can a person simply pick up a spade and decide that I'm going to start digging in the hope of finding gold? What concerns does it raise geologically, environmentally, but also socially?
So I think that if we can start with the environmental, holes that are dug are usually, if nothing is found, the holes are left. And I see the Ekurhuleni municipality has said they're going to go and close those holes, but that doesn't always happen. So you've got a hole in the ground, water collects in it, any bad minerals that are near the surface can then go into those holes, can go into water streams. So we've got potential pollution. And secondly, if the holes are not closed, they obviously present a health and safety risk. We have, unfortunately, numerous incidents every year where holes fill up with water, it gets hot, and community members go and swim and they drown. And that's unfortunately a potential reality here. And then as holes are deepened, they have the potential to collapse. So it's an environmental risk, it's a health and safety risk, and then it's a social risk in the sense that the area becomes, you can't put up a kraal, you can't have cattle there because they'll fall in. So you displace existing communities, and there's a social concern around that. Obviously, if gold is found there and people extract the gold and they process it with mercury, it's an incredibly, incredibly dangerous substance. It leads to motor neuron disease and cancers. So it creates those elements as well. But it obviously also, illegal mining always has a criminal element to it. Somebody has to buy the gold, and those systems then find their way into these communities and becomes the control over the process goes out of the community hands into external hands, and that creates its own social difficulties and challenges.
Given that, have you been surprised, Warren, by the level of reaction by police and other authorities? It seems to me this has been happening for days, and I did see police officers at some point, but it didn't seem as if there's a sense that says, hang on, cease and desist this activity. Follow procedures if you want to be mining in the way that you are purporting to do. Given everything we know about how Zama activity actually grows and escalates.
I think there's probably two things. One, I think the government probably understands this is not going to be a reality. In other words, gold isn't going to be found and it's not going to be mined or extracted. So I think that's probably the one reality. And the other reality is that government is cautious. There's been too many bad experiences where municipalities, the regulators, government has stepped in, and we've had the standoffs with Zama's underground. Zama's are very well organized, they've got weapons, and I think government is being very, very careful. The DDG has very publicly said that it's illegal and that action will be taken to prevent illegal mining. So my sense is two things. One, they're probably going to adopt a wait-and-see approach. In other words, don't go into too heavy-handed to see how this plays out, and it probably won't, because I think, to our original point of being skeptical. And then secondly, I think government's just being cautious. They don't want a heavy-handed approach which results in media headlines of people being shot or killed or, those types of things. I think they're being cautious.
So lastly then, Warren, and perhaps this is just an exploration a bit further away from, it's linked in some way. While you and I are skeptical about the possibilities of alluvial gold occurring in the context as described in Springs, it may or may not happen. We will see. But is this to say there are no further industries that are not necessarily deep level mining? Because we just recently opened our first deep level mine in many, many years here in Gauteng, just recently. But the talk right now includes tailings mining as well as byproduct mining for gold. Are those viable, pathways of sustaining the gold mining sector?
Absolutely. So tailings, the processing of tailings is a very, very important element. There are obviously moves to bring in artisanal and small-scale miners to remine or rework tailings. So it is a viable opportunity. It's a good opportunity. It's on the ground. In other words, it's on surface. All the costs of bringing it to surface have already been incurred, and the reprocessing is a relatively low cost and a high profit margin. And particularly with gold sitting at over $5,000, it's an incredibly good opportunity. It just needs to be taken, but our legislative framework doesn't necessarily accommodate that at the moment. The changes that are coming are going to be to include issuing small-scale permits for artisanal mining and for small-scale mining, and I think the communities can benefit from that in due course. But absolutely, the dumps are there. They can be reprocessed. They can be worked. There's profit to be made on those. It must obviously just happen within a legal framework. Government has emphasized that, and then it can work. There is a priority for communities. There's a priority for historically disadvantaged South Africans, and that needs to be fast-tracked so that these opportunities can be taken, particularly when you're sitting with gold as a safe haven metal at $5,000 at the moment. It's an extraordinarily high amount, and the timing is absolutely right for all of these related industries and reprocessing to take place.
Great insights. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Warren Beach, Chief Executive Officer of Beach Feldman Incorporated Attorneys, also a mining expert.
The Blues are going all out for maximum points at Stamford Bridge.
Stevaus flipped it back to him. The Brazilian connection working nicely. João Pedro for two, and he's done it. The Blues Brazilians at the double here.
However, it is a must-win game for the Clarets to try to escape from the danger zone.
Deflected and in. Oh, Burnley lead. Sharp lead for the Clarets. Bashir Humphries will claim it. It's got a deflection, and Burnley have got an early lead here.
This is the Premier League. Chelsea FC versus Burnley FC, the Saturday 21 February at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
This February, fall in love with the journey. No phones, no flights, just determination, connection, and the open road. From breathtaking landscapes to unexpected challenges. Race Across the World is back. Bigger, bolder, and more emotional than ever. Because sometimes the best way to find yourself is to travel together. Race Across the World Season 4, Thursdays at 6 p.m. only on S3.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Yeah, so let's take a few of your reactions. Quite a lot of people weighing in on the situation around e-hailing and concerns about safety in that sector.
Morning Thulas, morning SAFM listeners. This is Sam in the Free State. There's something that I'm not understanding about this e-hailing case. These dash cams, they record to an SD card most, or are they able to stream somewhere where you can view the videos online? So if the car was hijacked, then who was able to access the video on the SD card and then was able to upload it to social media? That's the one part that I'm not understanding.
Yeah, Sam, so if you were listening, Melithemba Mnguni was saying that one of the possibilities is for the platforms that drivers partner with, your Ubers, your Bolts, InDrive, they would want them to, as part of that partnership, provide these facilities of dash cams that record remotely onto a server, remotely. So as video is being captured, it's being saved elsewhere. So a drive that's far away from the vehicle, such that there's no possibility of, when an incident occurs, the criminal can simply remove the memory card, SD card, or whatever card in the vehicle, but it's being recorded to a remote server. That's where we are now. That's really where we are trying to devise plans to stymie, to frustrate, and perhaps slow down criminal activity. We're trying to be creative. In fact, as Melithemba was talking, I thought to myself, perhaps we may end up in a stage where there will be security, or there might need to be security operational centers that are monitoring all sorts of video feeds, from the streets to vehicles to those high lamp posts where you're seeing all of that video, and perhaps you can plug into a distressed driver the moment that it's flagged that this driver is in distress, and perhaps, I don't know, I really don't know. We just need to get a hold of our crime situation. And Musa on standby with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the Gauteng Education Department say they will conduct an inquiry into the death of a 10-year-old grade 5 learner from Reagile Primary School in the Winnie Mandela area of Tembisa. The learner was killed yesterday after a goalpost fell on him while he was playing on the school's soccer field. Residents of gang-ridden northern areas in Nelson Mandela Bay in the Eastern Cape have called to be included in the list of towns where soldiers will be deployed to assist the police. And US President Donald Trump's pick for ambassador to South Africa, conservative activist and writer Leo Brent Bozell III, has arrived in the country, where he will seek to improve relations between the two countries. An embassy official told Reuters Bozell had arrived in the country. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Some delays around Pretoria. Eupheus Road coming from the old Joburg Road down towards the N14 is heavy. And the N14 north to off-ramp at Eupheus is queuing up as well. Ollie Fontaine from Savannah Park through towards the N1 highway, having left Blue Hill, stays busy. The other exit out of Blue Hills, the R55 through Crowthorne into Kyalami. Quite a big backlog of traffic on that R55 going south as well. Problems getting into Sandton this morning. Rivonia and South Road coming through Morningside down to Greyston. Really heavy backlogs. And Greyston Drive off the highway down to Webber. Those traffic lights are down. That's just before you get to Rivonia. So from the highway, it's really busy. The highway itself, southbound from Buccleuch, northbound from around Houghton Estate to get off at Greyston Drive, really slow. Also, a collision on the Mike 1 North near Empire Road, backlogging traffic solidly from Boysons and holding up the M2 coming through from Joe Slovo. Also, a crash on the N12 eastbound at Elands Interchange, traffic parking back towards Voortrekker Road, exit in the Alberton area. Durban's M4, Southern Freeway to the Esplanade inbound. That's all eased up nicely. The M4 Ruth First Highway still very slow between Umhlanga and Virginia Airport. The M7 into Pinetown still queuing from Hunts Detman up towards at least the N3 highway. After that it moves okay. Cape Town protesting erupting again today at the UCT entrance. I think it's day one of the new year for UCT. We saw this yesterday, but the protest is day two. So the M3 from Constantia up through Newlands towards Princess Anne, very heavy. And there is a pushback behind that into local routes around the Rondebosch and Rosebank areas as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. So the Proteas march on in the T20 World Cup and they're in the Super 8s.
Super 8s indeed, Thulas. And yes, the right word is marching. We're not even breaking a sweat here. Aidan Markram's men treating this group like a warm-up lap. But nevertheless, we are through to the T20 World Cup Super 8s after 3 wins from 3 in Group D. The Proteas beat Canada, Afghanistan and New Zealand. Aidan Markram's side wrap up the pool stage against the United Arab Emirates. That's in Delhi tomorrow, with the first ball being bowled at 7:30 in the morning. More T20 World Cup news with Sri Lanka's Pathum Nisaka lighting up Kandy with the first century of the 2026 tournament. An unbeaten 100 of just 52 balls, guiding Sri Lanka into the Super 8s with an 8-wicket win over Australia. In the meantime, Proteas women batter Bakir Abrams has revealed that Marizanne Cup was ruled out of the rest of the T20I against Pakistan as a precaution after falling ill while bowling earlier in the 53-run loss at Willamore Park. The experienced all-rounder Cap, well, she was initially set to bat down the lower order, but she won't be back for now as the series is already secured.
Kapi fell ill, unfortunately, during that bowling spell. And after, obviously, assessments from the medical team, they just felt where she was, they erred on the side of caution. And obviously, from a player well-being point of view, they sort of put that front and center. Kapi was ready to play, but I just think from a medical point of view, they just felt player well-being was probably top of what was required then with the big ODI series coming up.
Let's go to soccer news. The newly signed Orlando Pirates attacker Andre de Jong believes his move to the Sea Robbers greatly improves his chances of playing at the 2026 FIFA World Cup in the US, Mexico and Canada in 4 months' time. But the big focus is tomorrow's blockbuster top-of-the-table clash against Mamelodi Sundowns at FNB Stadium. Now, with the Soweto Derby against Kaizer Chiefs also coming up next week, there's belief in some quarters that Bucks can start to dream about their first league win in 14 years.
I think to keep the pressure on. I think with the guys are doing a really good job at the moment, obviously stringing together a lot of good performances which are turning into wins. So it's about keeping that performance level very high and yeah, just keep it going really. I think it's obviously a long season to go. I think the winner on Wednesday will obviously put their best foot forward to winning the title. But I don't think the title was decided on Wednesday. Obviously you can put down a real stake in the sand, but yeah, I think it's got a long way to go.
And finally, rugby, territory and tackles will define Saturday's URC derby between the Lions and Sharks at Ellis Park. The Sharks can seal the SA Shield with a win, while the Lions are fighting to keep their top 8 hopes alive, expecting a fierce forward battle, breakdown pressure from Sia Kolisi and company, and a tactical kicking contest that could ultimately decide the outcome. Kickoff is at 2 p.m. And that's your morning brief sport. We'll have more with John Gericke around 12:30. I'm Zai.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you, Ndauling. Once again, sengisaba nokukhuluma because analysis is underway with the listeners, and so let's get straight to it. Now I'm going to keep a straight and serious face. Talk to me about the country, South Africa, dominating M&A activity on the African continent.
So South Africa leading in Africa when it comes to M&A last year, Thulas, taking in more than a third of the continent's total deal value. And this is according to a report by Herbert Smith Freehills Kramer. While big ticket deals were fewer than in previous years, investors are still showing confidence in the continent. The report noted that moves, or rather deals, including Coca-Cola, HBC snapping up Coca-Cola Beverages South Africa for $2.6 billion, and Goldfields expanding overseas with a $3.7 billion purchase of Australia's Gold Road resources. Herbert Smith Freehills Kramer also noted that regulators here at home are somewhat easing rules, adding that smaller mergers may soon bypass the Competition Commission, speeding up approvals and helping businesses move faster. Looking ahead, experts say Africa's M&A scene is expected to stay active this year, particularly in mining, further reinforcing what Goldman Sachs highlighted just last week about a new wave of South African deals in the sector.
And AECI, you would think I know this off the top of my head, but I don't. I believe they are in chemicals, are they?
Chemicals and explosives. They work very closely with the mining sector, and that sector giving it a bit of a boost in its recent update. The group says stronger operations and asset sales are set to fuel its full year earnings. The Explosives and Chemicals Group says headline earnings per share for the year to end December are expected to rise between 43 and 58%, while revenue in its mining division is expected to fall about 8% due to lower sales volumes. Mining earnings are still forecast to increase by more than 15%, reflecting improved operational performance. Now, the group says progress was made in resolving earlier production challenges at its Modderfontein complex, including power disruptions and raw material supply issues. AECI Chemicals is expected to post slightly higher revenue, though earnings were weighed down by bad debts, some of which have since been recovered. The company is also quite upbeat about its debt profile, managing to reduce its debt after disposing of non-core businesses, cutting net debt from 3.7 billion rands to about 460 million rands.
Come to think of it, actually, it's the second time I ask you to confirm what I know about AECI. So
you know it,
you reach a certain age, darling. You'll see. Lastly, wrap it up for us nicely. Everything you've told us this morning. What kind of a trading day does it give us today?
So trade likely to be choppy at the open here at home as gold prices continue to pull back. The yellow metal currently trading below $5,000 an ounce, and that'll probably filter through to our miners. In terms of company news, there's updates from Afrimat and BHP. In addition to that, Stats SA will be releasing its quarterly jobs report to give us insight on the labor market. Ahead of that print, the rand is on the back foot at 16.03 to the dollar, 21.83 to the pound, and 18.98 to the euro. In commodities, oil trending higher this morning, up 0.9% and trading just above $67 a barrel. Coming back to equities, stateside futures in negative territory as traders eye Fed minutes out tomorrow. Cautious trade across Asia as well, even though volumes are thin. All focus is on Japan, with markets on that front in the red.
Should I forward your fan mail?
Okay, yes, you can forward my
Because
fan
yay. But about Google this morning, Barry, I Googled. Anyway, darling, let's leave it there. Like I said, some of the messages I will not be reading on air. Dowling Lechela, thank you for today. That's Dowling, who's kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Maloka, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloka is in the building.
In life's most challenging moments of loss, compassion can be your greatest comfort. You shouldn't have to face the financial burden of losing a loved one by yourself. Rest assured, Clientele's funeral plans pay out cash within 24 hours. You can cover up to 13 family members on one plan, ensuring all your loved ones are taken care of, and 3 children are covered at no additional cost. With Clientele, you are not just buying a plan, you are also buying peace of mind. When the time comes, you will need to make important calls with your 200 Rand airtime you will receive when you claim. Plans offer double accidental death cover as well as a transport, grocery and unveiling benefit. Apply today, it's easy. There are no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let me start with the calls. Let me go to Ayanda in the Eastern Cape. Good morning to you, Ayanda.
Yes, Thulas, I'm sure you're good.
I'm good, yes.
Thulas, I'll be very brief. Sure. I'm coming from Eastern Cape in a place called Amtata. I used to be very proud of that place, especially where Nelson Mandela comes from. In a rural area called Mpandela in Krezwin. My name is Ayanda Daniel. For this reason, Thulas, I want you guys have an access maybe to Oscar Mabuyane in particular. Looking at what is happening in Gauteng, for instance, with the Amapanyaza, with all these things, well-sophisticated plans in fighting crime, whatever, wouldn't it be for him possible? We will call them Mama Oscars. It is in Gauteng, they are calling them Mama Panyaza. Because in rural areas, when you see a police van where it comes from, you know it is coming to react on a crime that has already happened. But when you are in Gauteng, when you see a police van, you feel safe. This is the reality. The way that the area is so dispersed whatsoever, maybe for him it will be hitting 2 birds with 1 stone, addressing the youth unemployment, because even those structures that are called police forums that are there are highly infiltrated by the same criminals. Can't he, as someone who comes from rural areas himself of Engcobo, this crime, women are raped, those girls that will go, because the schools are far from that area, the rural areas are dispersed. You have to go, if you are going to high school, you have to go to another village, pay rent, stay there. Those guys will come and rape those girls. And we will react, we will put it on cutting edge, we will put some TV, and then it will wait for another incident to come on. We will call them Mama Oscars. He has been so long in the province. Can he at least address this matter?
So you'll call them Mama Oscars?
Yes, we will do. That's to honor him. And we will love him. We will rather love him because he's here forever.
But on a
so
serious
can't
note,
he at least address the SOPA is coming now?
Yeah.
Can't he at least the issue of crime? All elderly, drugs are being sold. Nothing is happening.
Yeah. So on a serious note, though, Ayanda, without making fun of the Oscars and being fixated on that, is it your sense that there isn't a clear rural safety strategy backed by resources in the Eastern Cape?
Completely nothing. From where I came from, the police station is in BG location. The road is not doing any justice. You will be calling for police until I don't know for how many hours. Even Bantu Holomisa is well oriented about what I'm talking about. They will only come when there is an incident happened. So just to be on TV and everything else, then we forget about that. We wait for someone else to be killed and raped.
All right. Ayanda, thank you for calling in. There you have it, Oscar Mabuyane, Premier of the Eastern Cape, as well as your leadership. The gauntlet has been thrown. Will you pick it up as far as a rural crime strategy, innovation around that is the challenge coming through from Ayanda. Janusz in Cape Town, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to you. Listen, I would like to talk about deployment of the army.
Yes.
For a long time, I was trying to advertise this, but they listen to perhaps now. Better late than never. But my point is that so far we didn't have a good positive, input from the army. We know about the army from the DRC. We know about army involvement in the protection of the pharmaceutical mafia when there was a COVID implemented in our country. So now maybe the time to prove to us that actually army can do something positive to us and protect us. And my point is also, I know Mr. Holomisa, General Holomisa. I met him personally. I was in his deputy chairperson in Western Province. So I know him personally, and only I think he can do this job and provide proper support, because other generals, they are more active in golf, playing the golf than in the army. But my point is also, if the army will restore, because they can also provide it, for instance, employment and through the engineering system.
Yeah.
So they can go this way as well. So I believe in Mr. Holomisa. He's a good general, good patriot. He can do the job. Only he can do this job.
All right, Janusz, thank you. Expressing confidence there in the Deputy Minister of Defense, General Bantu Holomisa. Lastly, before I go to traffic, and I will come back with more calls, but let me take Ntlantla in KZN. Ntlantla, good morning to you. Ntlantla, my brother, is that you? Ah, my brother. Yes, my brother. My brother is not, is not brothering. All right. Let's get an update from Rob. I'll come back with more calls in a moment.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, still really busy into Sandton this morning. If you're coming in from the Bryanston-Randburg side, it's heavy. William Mandela onto Sandton Drive. There's a crash on Grayston Drive near 5th, right? So traffic turning off Sandton Drive into Grayston's under pressure. That traffic on Sandton, then pushing the traffic back on William Mandela back towards Bryanston High School. Behind that, Peter Place and Republic Road starting to really backlog, arriving into that traffic on William Mandela as well. Also, the other side, Ravonia Road South, a crash at Grayston Drive. So coming in from Morningside, that's heavy on both Ravonia and South. And then you've got an issue where we think it's traffic lights on Grayston and Webber before you get to Ravonia. So that's really heavy coming across from the Mike 1, and the Mike 1 queuing both ways to get off at Grayston. So if you've got to get into Sandton, there's a lot of traffic this morning between your destination and probably where you are now. Also, the Mike 1 and M2 routes through Crown up to Empire Road stay heavy, and a crash on the N12 highway between Fort Trekker Road and the N3 at Eland's interchange. If you're moving out of Alberton towards Germiston, still some real pressure there as well. Durban, the N2 southbound, crash scene before Umgeni Road is being cleared. That's before Spaghetti Junction has been cleared, but it's left a queue back as far as Umgeni Road. The rest of Durban easing up quite nicely, including the queue between Sabaya and Schlanger that was there earlier. That's disappeared. Breakdown on the N3 northbound towards Pietermaritzburg at Ashburton, left lane closed. That's starting to queue reasonably heavily after Linfield Park area. And Cape Town this morning, still really busy around Rosebank, Rondebosch, Newlands, protesting day 2 of it at UCT. The M3 inbound from Constantia is really badly backed up. On top of that, there's a lot of pressure around Rosebank and the Rondebosch, Newlands areas on the local routes. Not only the protesting, but I believe it's day 1 of the new academic year as well. So a lot of pressure anyway. Highways are still busy, particularly the N1 from Belleville all the way through to the city centre. N2 backing up from just after the airport right through to Mowbray, Maine. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice. Bite after bite, this is Bake That Thing. Every Friday, we fire up the ovens featuring South Africa's best bakers and most loved patisserie masters. From sweet showstoppers to savory favorites, it all begins in the oven. Get inspired live every Friday, only on Espresso on S3. This is Bake That Thing.
It's time to say yes to Montreux Jazz Festival Franschhoek, happening in Franschhoek from the 27th to the 29th of March 2026. It's 3 days, 2 stages, the Archers and Jazz Village, and a jazz-inspired multi-genre experience, plus a chilled Sunday slowdown to close. Featuring the legendary Salif Keita, Herbie Tswayedi, Andile Yenana, Ayanda Sigate, Sisonke Xonti, Madala Gunene, and Sibusile Xaba. Plus, Mandisi Djantjis, Billy Monama, Kasivan Naidu, Mos Mohale, Vusi Mahlasela, and more than 20 additional artists still to be announced. This is where Montreux meets Africa. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster, or you can visit mjfsa.com in partnership with the SABC.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
So yesterday I made a cameo appearance on Radio 2000. They're just across from us, right? They moved them, but they are noisy neighbors. So you hear them before you see them. This morning we're seeing one of them. Lelo Mzak.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing?
Very good.
Never in this lifetime have I ever thought that I'll actually make an appearance on SFM. So thank you so much.
There you have it.
I'm here.
Yesterday I was with you guys. You guys have more fun than we do, though.
No, you guys have a lot of fun. I love the listeners because I do actually listen to you guys also in the morning before I come in. Elvis Presley, Zycon, you name it. Then this Ketim Shahlana.
Yeah. Where's the rest of you, the rest of your team? You're so chilled for someone who's currently on air with the team.
Well, no, we're busy playing a mix. So Dino Bravo is on air playing a mix there. So that's why I could come in here and say hello.
They have a mix. We appreciate you, Lelo.
No, thank you so much. We appreciate you guys for informing us.
Nice stuff. That's Lelo Mzaka there, part of the team, the breakfast team at Radio 2000. Let's go now to the rest of your calls. Who's been holding? Alba in Sky City. Good morning to you.
I've seen it at Esmela.
Hey, minjani
Mfukeni.
Naina ifukini.
Yes.
Nanguna mfukini?
Nami Mfukeni.
Cancer.
For about 4 or 5 times, I was at the tail end. When we were signing off, I was still holding, wanting to speak to you. But I'm not here about that.
You are in this morning, yes.
Mr. Simelane, not so long ago, there was an e-hailing driver that was killed somewhere in Maponya. And then there was this noise that, hey, safety. Now another driver is killed. There is a noise. But one thing that I'm definitely sure, nothing is going to come out of it. Not so long ago, one of the people who is in Gauteng or the MS of transport or whatsoever said e-hailing cars need to be branded and everything. The branding is not the problem, according to me. Because you find that there are minibus taxi patrollers, so their cars are even mad. They will be stopping cars which have got passengers in front of traffic officers. Even yesterday I saw it.
Yeah.
Then traffic officers are doing nothing. But maybe I don't know the law, but I believe that the people who have got the authority to stop people for fetch is law enforcement agencies.
Yeah.
But those guys, they're stopping cars in front of traffic officers and they just keep quiet.
Yeah.
Now, what is the e-hailing drivers have got 2 problems. Those guys who request, who are criminals, and those minibus taxi patrollers, because I've seen so many videos of those e-hailing drivers being beaten up by those guys, and nothing comes out of it. So you ask yourself, is it the noise because of it has just happened, or is it because somebody out there is trying to think thoroughly that what is it that we can bring about safety in this sector?
Yeah.
It's just, for me, it's just noise that is happening. Nothing is going to come out of it.
Yeah, Alba, thank you. I share your frustration, the effervescence of our outrage, that we seem to have this outburst after an incident, and then it starts to simmer and settle down after a couple of weeks, and we don't follow through. How do we solve the situation such that we don't return to what had initially triggered our outrage. Pasika in Centurion, also on the same issue. Good morning to you. Siyaphila kunjani?
Siyaphila nathi akhona. Andazi noba ndithi unfortunate or fortunately. I'm one of drivers in the e-hailing platform, specifically Uber. But there is one thing, man, and I'm sure now you are aware of this. In our country, we've got we've got policies as a nice as Mnandi Kakhulu, which can be implemented and work for everyone. But the problem is we have reactional leaders or people who react on an incident instead of being proactive in ensuring that some of these things, mitigating factors are in place so that once an incident happened, it's not repeating again. I'll just quote one thing, for example, 2024, November. I was once a victim of these guys. I don't want to say taxi industry because taxi industry people, lava drive quantum, you don't find these problems. These small cars whom they act as if they are police or government or authorities of specific areas in towns or pickup areas where they took a car by force, which a case was opened by a client at that time to say someone is being kidnapped here. And police, when they arrived and asked me, how much did you guys agree in order for them to release your car? And I was very shocked. And then I opened a case, and opening a case both to IP, to police station, Central in Pretoria, as well as involving Human Rights Commission, because in my belief was this is a human rights violation. Where the Constitution allows us to trade.
Pasika, I've got to press you and rush you to conclude. I'm running out of time. So just take your point to its conclusion. What's the point you want to make here?
The point, Putram, here, it's the lack of willingness from our government officials to ensure safety for all people. Because you can't fight this thing and say e-hailing drivers are not going to be victims, as well as e-hailing passengers. There are some who are victims.
Yes.
But now one of the things that you have to look at with Uber, for example, and these other ones, a passenger can create many accounts and do all these sort of things, and they are never going to be penalized.
Pasika, I've got to move on. Thank you for your call this morning, Robert. I don't think it would be fair for me to take a call from you with just about a minute or less to go. So let me just take one or two voice notes. We'll call you back tomorrow. Robert in Bombela, not able to get to you.
Good morning, Thulas. It's Fugana from Durban. You know, Thulas, I'm an e-hail partner or driver, whatever they call us. You know, this death of this driver is not the first, it's many. But you have never had a single statement from any of these e-hailing companies because they treat us like dogs. They never give us a platform to address them. They hide behind the minister, and the MECs and minister will come out trying to enforce laws which they do not understand. What are the e-hailing companies saying?
Hi, Thulasizwe Simelane. While it is bad what happened to that e-hailing driver, what worries me is because that he is a foreigner now, it's amplified everywhere in the media. Yet our people die every day and you don't do this.
No. It has nothing to do with this person being a foreign national. Just the video itself was the sense of shock. When we saw the video, I don't know about you, I had no idea where this person was from. I saw a person being killed. I did not care whether they are South African, Nigerian, Martian. This was a human being being killed, and it screamed, we have a crisis, South Africa. If a person can... I certainly did not know this person was Nigerian until later on, as the details started coming out. But the shock and horror was triggered by a person being killed live on video. If we can't put aside those differences to momentarily feel that a human being, wherever they're from, should not be killed in that manner, then I don't know. Thank you for listening, and thank you for engaging as always. The Talking Point with Kathy Mutlatlana is up next here on SAFM after the news with Ann Musa. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
In our top stories, Gauteng education to probe learner's death, and Eastern Cape residents wants army deployed to fight gangsterism. Good morning. The Gauteng Education Department says they will conduct an inquiry into the death of a 10-year-old grade 5 learner from Riagile Primary School in the Winnie Mandela area of Tembisa. The learner was killed yesterday after a goalpost fell on him while he was playing on the school's soccer field. According to preliminary reports, the incident reportedly occurred during the second break. Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve Mabona says police have started with their investigations.
The emergency services were called, they tried to resuscitate, and we are informed that they came within 20 minutes. They tried, but the child then passed on. The police are investigating circumstances surrounding this incident, and you will know that normally they will, open an inquest case docket, and they will take it from there. But we felt that as a department, parallel to this, we will also conduct our own inquiry.
Residents of gang-ridden northern areas in